boy. Hi, boy. Hi, boy.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So sorry for the background noise. You know how it goes. The ducks got to go in the water because it's too cold where we live. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into some videos. So it's been a busy day, guys. You know, we had like probably a busy week, I want to say, because of all the stuff that's been going on with Iran, and then you had the protests and yada yada. So yeah, it's been going crazy. Now we have the midterms coming up with the election. So yeah, it's gonna be a wild one, guys. It's gonna be a wild one. So let's go ahead and listen in to CNN out of all places.
It is 23, 53, almost 50.
On that U.S. embassy. What we are seeing is Iran's escalating retaliation, now forcing the United States to close embassies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Lebanon indefinitely tonight, as the Trump administration is scrambling to secure military planes and charter flights to get stranded Americans out of the Middle East. The other big breaking news here at home is it's election night, the very first primary elections of the midterms in what is a key year for the White House and Congress here in Washington. We're keeping a close eye right now on Texas, where most of the polls have now closed, though Dallas County voting has been extended for one more hour after there was some confusion among voters about the correct polling locations. In the race for the U.S. Senate on the Democratic side, the state representative James Tallarico is leading right now Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett with about 35% of the vote in. We're still watching those numbers incredibly closely. In the Republican primary, the incumbent Senator John Cornyn is now leading with just over 30% of the vote in. We find CNN's John King where he always is on election night at the Magic Wall with the latest numbers. And John, obviously these are two incredibly closely watched races. What are we seeing in Texas? Confusion.
Yep, that's what we're watching right now is the polling locations. So this is the first one. So we're going to keep an eye on it as well. But yeah, look at how it's going. Jeez.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Adam Smith, ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. He took part in yesterday's briefing for the Gang of Eight. Congressman, thanks for being here. I'm wondering what your reaction is to these new details from CENTCOM. Nearly 2,000 Iranian targets struck by U.S. forces. Destruction of hundreds of ballistic missiles, launchers, drones, 17 Iranian naval ships. Is it clear to you what the strategy is here, what the objective is?
It is not, and that's part of the problem. It's bounced around a lot on a number of different pieces. You know, from being in that briefing and talking with other people, it seems like the strategy is to hit Iran as hard as possible, and President Trump has made allusions to what happened in Venezuela. Now, comparing Venezuela to Iran is just a remarkable amount of ignorance, much more complicated problem in Iran. But I think President Trump's vision, to the extent that he has one, is that he will batter Iran to the point where no matter who is left in charge, they will feel like they can't stand up to the U.S. and they'll have to do what we ask them to. Now, that's not really playing out, and also, it leaves behind the question of all the people in Iran who want a bigger regime change than that, and frankly, the means and the ability of achieving either one of those outcomes.
There's been this report about the possibility of the CIA or others arming Kurdish forces in Kurdistan in Iraq to enter Iran, try to foment regime change. I'm wondering, is that something you would support?
No. I don't support regime change. And we're seeing how this plays out. I mean, look, think of it this way. I mean, Trump is basically a bull who just walked into the world's largest, most densely populated.
We wanted him to be a bull in the China shop, but seemed like he is one just yet. I mean, it would have been awesome and base to tell if he was.
Are they then dragged into the war?
But, they're still holding him up in courts and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not the way we wish it would be.
Lebanon. Hezbollah and Israel are now back in a full-scale conflict. It's spiraling out of control with no clear plan how to have an off-ramp, either a short-term off-ramp or to your point, what's the sort of long-term plan here? Is the CIA planning on backing Kurdish rebels to eventually overturn the government and give us a new government Iran? And who's that going to be? We have walked into a huge mess. This is exactly the lesson that we should have learned and that President Trump claimed he had learned when he was running for president from Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya. You just can't go dropping a bunch of bombs and know where it's going to go, particularly in the Middle East.
What role should Congress have in this?
Yeah, well, Congress should have had approval in the first place. And by the way, that's the reason for the little, dance step with Marco Rubio about, well, Israel was going to attack and then they were going to attack us. That's the argument that this was an imminent threat, which is the only justification for this type of large-scale military action without congressional approval, is an imminent threat. Well, President Trump shot that down. He said, no. I decided to go hit them. And by the way, there is no evidence whatsoever that Iran
So let's
was
go ahead
going to
and
attack.
jump over to sorry guys. WFAA. This is the live Texas primary election results special. So we're gonna go ahead and see what they're saying. What their take on all
and
this.
made to be more of a Republican-friendly district as it bends toward the coast instead of in toward San Antonio. Still so much of this vote left to come. Look at how many counties we're looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Different counties, just pieces of counties for this district. And so we're out to a very slim lead there with very few votes counted. So not a lot going on there just yet. Christian Menifee, the incumbent, this is Sylvester Turner, Representative Sylvester Turner's seat. Of course, he passed away. Christian Menifee just won the special election there several weeks ago, and he's back in it again to see who will go forward. We really have two incumbents in this, though. Al Green, also an incumbent from a nearby district there in the Houston area that was gerrymandered away when they did that mid-decade redistricting. And so, he's trying to run in a different district. And right now, both of them are, sitting right in that threshold where that would go to runoff. But again, we're at about almost 70% of the estimated vote total in.
And I don't think Amanda Edwards is in the race anymore.
She is not, but she
has
is still
6.5%, which could have put one of them potentially over the top.
That's exactly right.
What else is?
She's still on the ballot, but she dropped out. So she's still picking up votes.
Indeed, so 25,000 votes there. But what else is fascinating about this? This is the generational play where you have an older Democrat versus a younger Democrat here, and we saw the same thing play out in Austin when Lloyd Doggett decided he would retire and let Greg Casar take the seat that Republicans redistricted there. Right. That's not happening. Al Green says, listen, I want to stay in Congress. I'm going to run for this seat. And he is outspoken, and we'll see if Christian Menifee can edge that up just a little bit and escape a runoff there. We'll be watching that one throughout the night. Freddie Haynes, this is the old district of Jasmine Crockett, who, of course, is running for U.S. Senate. He's out to a big lead here. Not many votes in yet. They're all from Tarrant County. This district spills over into Tarrant County. We've got nothing coming in from Dallas County, which is the bulk of that district. So a lot to pay attention still there as we go through the night. This one is for the new 33 that was created, and this is another one of those where the mid-decade redistricting is packing Democrats into a certain
now, do you guys think that Jasmine Crockett will win?
Who was the incumbent in
and
District
if
32,
so,
running against
do you
Colin
think she'll win
Allred,
by a lot, or
who
do you
got into the
think
race
the dude
late
would
after
win?
he got out of the Senate race? Nothing to report there yet. And then we've got Rhonda Hart. This is out as you go toward Beaumont. You got Jasper, Lufkin, Winnie, Houston. Another one of these sprawling districts that covers a lot of land there. Rhonda Hart, of course, got into politics because her teenage daughter was a victim of gun violence, and that was the primary issue motivating her. She's pulled out to an early lead here. Still a good amount of vote left to come in on that one, too. Let's go down the Republican side. This one's been called here. Trevor Nels already called as the winner in this, even though a huge portion of this district in Brazoria County hasn't reported anything yet, but Fort Bend County and part of Harris County, obviously doing very well there.
And what's fascinating about this, of course, his twin brother, identical twin, Troy Nels, decided he would retire from Congress, and Trevor's taking that position.
That name recognition can be pretty huge,
Indeed.
even if you're
and
not.
They look alike, too, exactly alike.
That helps as well. This one is the newly created 32. Kind of looks like somebody's pointing at you here in Dallas. You can see that at least right now, all of the counties are lining up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 counties represented here. This goes all the way almost to the Louisiana border. Right now, Jace Yarborough in the lead. Not too big of a surprise there. He's gotten the endorsements of Abbott and Trump on this one, so they agreed on that candidate.
But what's fascinating here, there are 10 people in this race, 10 or 11 in this race.
If he can get out of this,
and he might win it outright.
That would be tremendous.
And just to remind our viewers too, this district was a solid blue district. This was one of the 5 that Republicans busted up and redrew.
Yeah.
This is the one that Julie Johnson currently represents. Well, they added all those Republican voters in there, and now it's a solid Republican seat.
Yeah, it used to just look like this in here, more or less. So we'll see if he can hold on to that no runoff lead there. Then we get to this one. These two have gone back and forth and back and forth. You know, it was his seat, and then it was her seat right now. Carrizo Richardson is still on track right now with 60% of the estimated vote, according to the AP. That is a pretty sizable lead that she's got there. Let's go to the House now and talk about this one. This is the Fort Worth City Councilman versus the Northwest ISD board member here. That is not even close, but again, still a lot of vote left to come there. Let's go down here and check. This one is another one of these that just, you got 23, 9, 5.5, 3.8. That one is probably going to a runoff. A lot of these are going to be new faces. You know, as we go through these different state house districts that we're running through here on the Republican side, a lot of these are new faces because we've seen the incumbents move on.
And if you've been around TV for the past 2 or 3 weeks, you've likely seen this race here. State House District number 98 for the state legislature, Armin Mazzani and Fred Tate. These guys
Keller
have been
Mayor here
spending
in the lead.
a lot of money. And this is the way the vote totals are lining up, with more than half the vote in right now.
And then we finish up here in State House 106. Jared Patterson, the incumbent here, hanging on right now, doing very well with about 64% of the estimated vote in. This is an interesting discussion, though, and it tells you sort of, where the Republican Party has sort of, moved along to here in Texas. Larry Brock, who is in second place with almost a third of the vote from primary voters in the Republican side. In case you're not familiar with him, Larry Brock is a former January 6th person who was at the Capitol that day. He calls himself a J6 political prisoner who served more than a year. You may remember him for the green helmet and the zip ties, and he was on the Senate floor there. But again, almost a third of voters in the Republican primary thinking that this is the candidate that they wanted to send. But Jared Patterson just holding on right now with a pretty substantial lead there.
All right, we're going through these numbers here in a few more minutes. Let's talk about the other, not a surprise here, but we did get one other race called. It's the Republican race for governor of Texas. Governor Abbott easily won that race. That was going to be no surprise here with 82% of the vote. This is, again, not a surprise. He was going up against Pete Chambers and Evelyn Brooks. Abbott was not at all in jeopardy here, had plenty of money. He was going to be fine. But let's go right now to Teresa Woodard. She is in Austin with the Cornyn campaign. And Teresa, these early numbers out have been consistent, showing that the senator is maintaining his lead there.
Yeah, so I do want to tell you, I was just looking at my laptop, those numbers you just saw from Governor Greg Abbott, that's the kind of number that we have seen before for Senator John Cornyn in some of these primary races. But tonight we are certainly not seeing that, although the numbers that the Cornyn campaign is seeing right now, they say they are, quote, good so far. Say they like what they see so far. We certainly know this is a race that has been framed by a lot of people as establishment versus MAGA. Senator Cornyn certainly has a long political history here in Texas. He has been an elected official in the state since 1984. He has been senator since 2002. He says his experience helps him. He says his experience shapes him. He says his experience helps him help Texas as well. However, on the other side of this, you have Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has really hammered home that message, saying Cornyn is not loyal enough. He is a member of the establishment. We have seen a lot of campaign ads on both sides from Cornyn and from Paxton. This has been the most expensive primary race for Senate in U.S. history, and the biggest spender in all of that has been Senator Cornyn, about $70 million spent by him alone. mostly just attacking Paxton's character, and we know that this is likely not over. The Cornyn campaign fully expecting that tonight will end with those two candidates, Senator Cornyn and Attorney General Ken Paxton, going to a runoff. They are fully prepared for that, and that is why tonight, you may see behind me, this is not a traditional watch party. In fact, there's been some awkward silences here because it's really just a room full of reporters who are standing in front of cameras and giving live reports like I am, and we are expecting to hear from the senator at some point, most likely within the next hour. He will likely be taking that podium that you see behind me, giving a few short remarks to the cameras and then taking questions from reporters here. We know that the senator spent the day here in Austin really just meeting with his advisors, trying to get the vote out, trying to get people to go and vote on this election night. We will continue to keep you posted throughout the evening, but for now, we'll send it back to you, Jason.
All right, Teresa, thanks for that insight. We do expect to hear from the senator, as she said, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, potentially there in Austin. Let's go now to Jessica Guzman, who is the editorial director for VoteBeat.org. Tonight, like the last couple of elections, I believe, you were down in Central Texas in Gillespie County. But let's zoom out for a moment here. What kind of surprises are you seeing? Because you look at this stuff at the granular level.
You know, I think the biggest surprise that we're seeing is in the county that you are coming to us from, which is where there was a lot of confusion today, as I'm sure you've reported, around where people vote because it was different this year. We went to a precinct-based model this year. And so while that was a surprise, it shouldn't have been. Making that big of a change in that big of a city is a difficult thing to communicate to that many voters. And it appears not to have gone quite as well as the parties might have hoped.
Whose fault is that, Jessica? Is that the Democratic Party's fault for not getting the word out to its voters and to potentially new voters?
You know, I think the fault is probably shared. I think that there's good evidence to suggest that the county did everything within its power to get the word out in the traditional ways that the county gets the word out about anything related to elections. But the parties run the primaries, right? They're a party function. And so when the GOP held out and thought that they might hand count all of the many thousands of ballots in Dallas, their choice was to not hand count because that would have taken so many people, but instead to placate supporters by going to a precinct-based model, which they claim to be more secure. That meant Democrats also had to go to a precinct-based model because that's how it works. You can't have vote centers for Democrats and precinct-based models for Republicans. And so really it should have been on both parties to tell their voters where to go. Certainly, while Democrats have been the ones to ask for voting hours to be extended, Republicans were confused too and sort of unsettled by the concept that they would have to go into a different line or to an entirely different place than they've typically gone to.
Let me ask you about the Republican race for U.S. Senate. This one's kind of standing out to me tonight. Senator Cornyn told me earlier today that he expects this to be a dead heat. But we have watched the results come in. About half, a little bit more than half of the results are in so far. And Cornyn, the incumbent, has been leading the entire time. We just got the vote results in from Collin County, where Ken Paxton is from, and Cornyn still leads so far. Is that indicative of anything that you can tell?
You know what? I know that the turnout numbers were not as high as Dallas County had been expecting. And the people who are most motivated to turn out for primaries under any circumstances are party stalwarts. And those people most often vote for incumbents, and especially someone like John Cornyn, who's quite establishment, would appeal to party types. I think that Trump's base was hoping that his popularity among MAGA supporters, which is a bit ephemeral by nature, would carry through to the midterms. But Trump's not on the ballot, right? And so that's a detractor. And I think that Ken Paxton probably has not garnered the amount of enthusiasm.
Sorry, my mic was off.
They may have been hoping.
Yeah,
And in the Democratic race
because
for
Trump
US
is not on
Senate,
the
we've been talking
ballot,
about here
that's
the
why a lot
last
of people are
hour or
not
so.
showing up. But we need to
It's
show up like our
people
lives
haven't
depend
been
on
able
it
to vote
because
in Dallas
basically
County, where
they
Jasmine
do.
Crockett is
We
from.
can't
Does
just
this
let the
potentially hurt
Democrats
her?
take this
It
and
could,
run
you know,
with
I
it
mean, I
because
think that if
then we're
the
gonna
race
all
is-
be
is
screwed
as
because
close
you've
as some
heard
people
the threats
say
that
it's gonna
they've been
be,
making. You
and
know,
it comes
they
down to
haven't been
Dallas
quiet about
County,
it.
and a few thousand votes could have swung it either way.
So
I
we
think
definitely want to make
certainly we'll at
sure
least see her campaign
we're all
argue
showing up.
that
You know,
impacted their success in this race, whether that takes the form of litigation or just sort of spin after the fact. I'm not sure. I think it depends on how large the margin is.
And when we introduced you a moment ago, we did note that you were in Gillespie County in Central Texas. Tell us why you are there and how long this night might go for you there.
Oh, it's going to go for a while. So
I
Gillespie
bet.
County for the second primary
Now remember,
in a
this is
row
the first
has chosen to
primary
hand
that
count its
is
ballots.
hitting
In 2024, they did
the
this with
floor,
all
so
of
we're
the
kind of
ballots
just
cast
staying
in the
here to
primary
watch
in
it
the
and see
Fredericksburg
how it
area.
goes.
This year, they could
Um,
not recruit enough volunteers to
just
do
gotta
that.
wait and
Last
see, you
year, they
know.
recruited about 350. This time around, only about 60 people wanted to volunteer for that again. And I think probably because it takes so long, you have to count ballots continuously until you're done in Texas, and they have to give the ballots back after 24 hours or they face a misdemeanor charge. So we're going to be
Crazy.
up until the ballots are done counting. Because they couldn't recruit enough voters, or I'm sorry, recruit enough volunteers, they are only counting the ballots cast today. So as I'm talking to you, the early voting numbers that they scanned in the normal fashion are probably here, but we'll be waiting for a single day's worth of votes cast just today for several hours.
But they were okay with scanning the early vote, but they want to hand count the day of vote.
They essentially had no choice. They did not have enough people to do what they wanted to do. And so because they didn't have enough people and because misdemeanor charges would come if they didn't get it done on time, they had to give somewhere, and that's where they gave.
Wow. Jessica Huzman, the editorial director at VoteBee. Jessica, we always appreciate your insight. We'll check back in with you later tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, let's bring the panel back in and talk about some of the numbers. I heard Jason talking over on the side over here, the U.S. Senate race on the Republican side. If we have these numbers we can pull up for our viewers, it would be good to show. But John Cornyn is still leading this race tonight. He was, as of a few moments ago. Bud, are we seeing something you're watching over there?
It's that's
So it's
counties.
It's 42%. What are we at statewide here? Collin County.
Which is, his hometown, Ken Paxton's hometown. John Cornyn ahead by about 3 points there in Collin County. If we look at statewide, he's up by about 2.5-ish points now. So that race is tightening as more of the vote comes in. Right now we're
So
at about
who's your guys' pick
955,000
for
votes.
Republican? Would it
About
be
1.2
John,
million
Penn,
were
or
cast in
Wesley?
early voting.
And when you look at these numbers,
When I hear the
what
name
do you
Wesley,
make
I
this?
think of
Because
Buffy, and
the
well,
general
technically, yeah,
consensus for the
Buffy,
longest
because he
time
originally was the
Ken
character
Paxton's
on
gonna run
there.
away with this thing. Won't get to
And
50%,
he was
but
a
he's gonna be
watcher,
leading this, is what
and then
everyone
he ended up on
anticipates.
Angel.
I think he was going to be leading
I
this,
don't
but I
know.
never thought he was going to run away with it.
Sure.
I mean, I always thought this was
Like, I'm
single
not
digits, 4 or 5%.
in Texas, so I
But
don't
he's
get to
been
vote
behind the
there. I
entire
wish I
time
was,
so far
then I
tonight.
could vote.
The
But
Collin County number.
yeah, I don't know which
which
one is a good one. So, policies matter, especially when you're looking at who to vote for.
Good point. His ex-wife, Alfredo. What do you make of these numbers here tonight?
Yeah, I think that that says a lot.
But definitely, Republicans need to show up and show out for all these voting, because if the Dems take the midterms, that's it. We're cooked, guys. Like literally cooked, like bacon cooked.
And what do you think, Bud? Does Cornyn prevail at the end?
Well, let me ask the consultants. I mean, does Trump endorse or not? I mean, let's talk about this. Trump's been waiting to see who jumps ahead. Trump's endorsement is worth 10 points. Trump's been waiting to see who led in this. If it was somebody.
This guy says. Oops.
Black counties in Texas, but Jefferson County has the highest concentration of black voters. And look at that. Crockett running at 80% here this is the early vote, but this is 2/3 of the vote. And again, this is expected, I think. I in fact have a benchmark written down here for Crockett. 80%. I think she needs to get 80% out of Jefferson County. She's running at 80% in the early vote right here. So let's see if that continues.
Now, how many of those votes do you think are legit?
Who is winning the black vote?
I'm not trying to say that they're not, but you got to wonder,
Steve,
you know?
we're about 36 minutes away from, obviously, the poll closed there in Dallas County and in that section of Texas there. I would never ask you to make a prediction on a crystal ball, but if you were looking at sort of the next big places where you're looking to see vote drop in, and either in Texas, what's the thing you keep refreshing? Bring us up there with you.
Yeah, look, I don't mean to take the easy way out on this, and I'm not refreshing as we know it's 10 o'clock, but it's Dallas.
Okay,
because,
fine.
you know, this is, how many
Garrett's
votes are coming
asking,
out?
what about Harris?
What about Harris County?
Yeah, so we've got this is the early vote from Harris County here. You know, Crockett leading this by 8 points. So yes, I think this is a county that Crockett needs to win. I think she needs to win this county
really
by
hope she
several
doesn't.
points. You know, I think when we looked at this one going in, it looks
Like,
sort of
I know
a
that's probably
toss-up, like a
awful to
swing
say,
county.
but I really
think
hope
this
she
is one,
doesn't
if
win.
Tallarico is winning this, Tallarico is
Man,
feeling
that girl,
great about
she's
where he is
just
statewide.
annoying.
This is early vote, so yeah.
And I know
What
it's probably
happens-
bad
now,
to
the
say,
warning
but
gotta
I
give you
am. I'm
on
like
Harris County
so
is-
like annoyed by her.
They're notorious for giving you the early vote, and then you know the next day you get the same day, like 2 a.m. You get the same day vote. So let's see.
Okay, we will see. We're hanging out with you.
Guys, we got Crenshaw. Do you want to see it?
Yes, go. Let's go. Yes.
Do we ever?
Okay. Wow.
I don't know about Crenshaw because he used to be base, but I feel like now he sucks.
Woodlands,
You know, like
this
he
is the
seems like a
early vote.
rhino
Again,
now.
This is Toth's base. I apologize. I've been saying it
You know what
wrong.
I'm saying?
I read these names on paper sometimes, but look at this. A monster margin in the early vote over the incumbent. 28 points. This is Toth's base, Montgomery.
Yep.
This is Harris. The other half, he's also leading the early vote there. What that means is 60% of the vote is in this district, and it's a 7,500 vote margin, nearly a 20-point margin for Toth over Crenshaw. Would need to win the same-day vote in the mother of all landslides if he's going to catch Toth at this point. Remember, Crenshaw, the only Republican without Trump's endorsement, incumbent in the House side in Texas, and starting to look like he needed it.
Steve Kornacki delivering the drama.
Wow, that is high drama. And Ryan, this goes back to your point about a purity test. Dan
We talked about it on the
Crenshaw,
Democratic side. But
yes, this is a purity test on the Republican side. Toth's been making the argument, no, I'm the MAGA candidate. Dan Crenshaw is someone who has, in some instances, Ukraine, for example, broken with President Trump.
Backed by Cruz, backed by the Freedom Caucus PAC, et cetera.
And you know what's interesting about the difference in the purity test on the Republican side versus the purity test on the Democratic side?
Yeah. Oh,
the
God,
Democratic
here we
side,
go.
it can be a little complicated. There's a lot of different issues and a lot of different boxes you need to check to win a Democratic purity test. There's only one on the Republican side, and that's whether or not Donald Trump likes you.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Dan Crenshaw has gotten sideways with Donald Trump. Ukraine
That's
might be one of
because
the
he's
reasons.
like
There's some
a
other
rhino. He's like a
examples,
sellout now.
of him not necessarily towing
Like, that's
the
my
MAGA
thought.
line.
He used to be
To be very
based-
clear, he
Like, I
toes the
remember when he
Republican
had
Party
his
line.
like
Dan
commercials,
Crenshaw's,
like his
from a
ads,
voting record
they were
is as
so based as
conservative
hell.
anybody's,
Where he's like
in
jumping on an
Washington.
airplane,
But
and it was
you
like
cannot
an
run sideways with
Avengers
Donald
mode
Trump.
kind of thing, and now it's like whack.
Watching what's happening here today with in this race with Dan
Like
Crenshaw.
he's just such
First
a
person I'm
like
thinking of
crybaby, guys.
is Kentucky and Tom Massey. And I know that there is a very dedicated group of political operatives that are working to do this exact same thing that's happening to Dan Crenshaw, to Tom Massey in Kentucky. And Dan Crenshaw has a muted resistance to Donald Trump. It's one or two issues. Tom Massey's gone all in on opposing Trump. Could this be a bad sign for him going forward? I think that's what we see playing out right here.
Different dynamics in those races, but still super interesting when you look at this Crenshaw-Toth race. And Kristen's made the point about the non-endorsement, no endorsement from President Trump, the distinction there. You got to also look at both of these candidates. You know, Steve Toth, a familiar face on the cables. You know, Crenshaw is too, but these are people that get out there, deliver a message. You've got the sort of cable factor involved in all of it as well.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting if Crenshaw ends up losing this race because he really would be going out kind of the same way he came in. The same things that people liked about him when he first ran for office are now being used against him. He had this national security background. Obviously, he was a former Navy SEAL. He was thought of as kind of a straight shooter.
Yeah, he used to be based, but not no more.
We got to sneak in a super quick break, but I promise we're going to be right back. We've got Kornacki, we've got the table, we've got our political pros, tons of people. Stay with us.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the fence of this situation with these guys.
Discussing the mass confusion and how she believed this is all to blame on the Dallas County Republican Party, saying that their effort to suppress the votes was successful, but so was her efforts and others, the efforts of others rather, to extend polling time. So I don't believe it's 9 o'clock just yet. I'm losing a little bit track of time, but polls are still open, and it is going to be a while until we see those final numbers. And it will be interesting to see if this mass confusion when it came to the precinct election voting locations, if this cost Representative Crockett this election. And so I think everyone is just kind of waiting on that, still waiting to see the representative make it to her watch party. So until then, I want to go ahead and send it over to my colleague, Cole Sullivan. He is with the Tellerico watch party in Austin. Cole, have you seen James just yet?
No, Representative Tellerico has not come out yet, but there is a crowd here to support him. And our viewers, just seeing the party you were at, they can compare and contrast with this here. This is a Tellerico event here in Austin. Lots of people out here in the crowd here, and big cheers when results pop up on the screen. Tellerico ahead by just a little bit, 53% here, and from the numbers they're watching here in Austin. And whenever those numbers pop up, there's big cheers from this crowd, particularly when the Travis County numbers pop up. Obviously, we're here in Austin, so a lot of supporters are here. Call this home. So does Representative Tellerico, and he is running away with the vote in Travis County.
So let's see what Tim and them have to say, if they want to talk.
No one cared about the Democrat. For the Attorney General, Mays Middleton, this will be interesting because Ken Paxton's out.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be Mays Middleton. Is that a woman?
A lot of my people were voting for Chip Roy. I'm on the fence about him.
I think Chip Roy is one of the better members of Congress.
Yeah.
I'd say really not to say that he's a good member of Congress, but he's one of the better members. Most of the Republicans.
Dan Crenshaw's losing.
Yeah, he could lose.
He's going to lose.
Yeah, he's going to lose his seat.
He's going to lose his seat. Check this out.
Yep.
58% reporting, and he's down almost 20 points.
Yep.
Wow. That's such a bummer, man. When he got in, we were so excited.
Yep.
And then,
like I said, he was so based.
Very much so.
He was like, what did he snap at that little girl or whatever
But
that
then,
thing was?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to him.
Man, he got made fun of by what's his face on SNL.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, and then he just kind of was a dick. And we invited him on the show, and he canceled on us twice, I think it was.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, that's rude.
Some bitch.
And I like, we weren't even like going to be, it wasn't going to be completely filled with acrimony. Like it was going to be some probably,
a little acrimony.
A little bit, like a little debate, a little pushback. But we're not, we were not the hardcore anti-Den Crenshaw people. But you know what? Maybe Steve Toth is the guy.
I use acrimony in
Well,
my first
we shall
interview
see,
with
right,
the
guys?
Handle, which
Because, like I said,
it's a good word, but it just doesn't play great.
Crenshaw used to be
not.
based.
See, I'm never going to run for
But
office
then,
because
like I said,
like
I don't
to
know
use
what
big words and
happened,
stuff, you know what
if
I
he
mean?
got paid off or what, but I don't know. He just started being whacked.
It's kind of a pretentious
Same thing
word.
with MTG. She used to be based as hell.
Foment
But then
violence or
all of a sudden
animosity
she came into some
something.
money,
Acrimony.
and all of a sudden she's like against Trump.
Let's
He's
go.
like,
Yeah,
girl.
that's the one. Yeah.
Just
Rogers
Like,
donate.
it just showed that
This is
she was a
pretty crazy
flake.
because he's getting
you know?
smashed.
Yeah, Dan Crenshaw.
58% in, and he is getting smashed.
You must be feeling pretty bad about now.
Poor Dan Crenshaw.
Looking for a little backup for your
Wow.
plan.
Maybe if he would come on shows like this and actually defend himself, and then he got into it with Sean Ryan. Was that the thing that happened?
Yeah.
You should beef up his LinkedIn.
I'm tweeting. Oh no.
I don't even have a LinkedIn.
Oh no.
Yeah, the back and forth with Sean Ryan really.
I had a
kinda made me look bad.
LinkedIn, and every time I've tried to use it, I end up not knowing the password, and it gets all screwed up, and so I have to make a new one just to like see whatever the thing is.
I love this.
You know, whatever the like trans activist professor at Oregon State that I'm looking up.
While we're waiting on the results, I got to play this clip for you guys.
Are there measures being
Oh my god, I
taken
thought that
to eliminate
was
other
what's
possible,
his name, Anna Sandler.
alternatives to leadership?
This is war, and we're taking out the threat. And if you're part of the threat, then you're a target.
There you go. There it was, said by Senator. This is war, and we're not going to dwell on the last 50 seconds of this video. No, I'm just kidding. Let's listen to the rest. It's funny.
What we'd call not all the arrows, but going after the archers.
You'll concede this is war. You'll concede this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
There we go.
But we haven't declared.
Just now you said this is war.
They've called it war.
They called it war. What I was saying. Okay, well that was a misspoke. What I was saying that they declared war on us.
That was a
But war
misspoke.
is ugly. It
You
always has been
misspoke.
ugly.
I
But
misspeak.
we're at a. We're taking out.
Like, my bad, yo. I wasn't
This is why
meant to
people
say that.
hate Congress.
Yes, for quite some time.
Yeah.
You're not
They're so wishy-washy.
So if we haven't declared war, then I don't see that. The president hasn't asked us to declare war yet, but they have declared war on us. We're just simply fighting the threat that's been at our door for 47 years.
Is it really at our door?
There you go.
Actually, it's not really at our door.
No.
Yet, but it could.
Is there
Not
anybody else
yet,
running that?
but it
Al Green,
could.
he's winning, right?
Is he?
Al Green's running.
Oh God, no.
Awful.
Worst.
He's just terrible.
He is.
By another.
Oh, he jumped.
Yep.
Tony, wait, I'm not seeing that on the New York Times. What are you?
NBC News.
NBC News. So Tony just took a lead from Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So he's up 12,000.
Dude, that'd be crazy if the K-Man loses. Like, I'd be cheering for
Nah,
that.
We're gonna look at this one.
And
We're just gonna
if
look at this
Jasmine
one.
Crockett
doing?
loses, I'd be cheering for it.
Green's
I'm here
down.
for that. You know what I'm
That would
saying?
be nice. I'd like to see Green lose.
Did I just pull? Oh, here it is. I got it right here.
68% in. He's at 43%.
Oh my!
Called
This is
Menifee
amazing.
Is at 49%.
Who's Christian Menifee? I hope he's worse.
Jesus.
Is it possible to be worse?
I got to be honest. Like these guys might actually be a lot better. I would love moderate libs.
Yeah, moderate libs is what we're looking for. I mean, I
That's
do
what
think
would
that the
be
Democrats have really
ideal.
done the American people a
It
disservice
to
by
have
offering
like
zero
independents,
viable
you know, like moderate
candidates.
libs, like the
Oh,
ones that
this is
used
so
to be
awesome.
just
Well, the
regular
internal polling with the
liberal.
Democrats is
But
the
they
Democratic
kind
Party is
of
losing to the
the
Democrat
left went
Party.
so far left that now the
Yeah,
moderate
the far
liberals
left has
are
really
like
taken over that
considered
thing.
conservative, which
You
is
know,
crazy.
That's how we end up with Mamdani and AOC.
I saw a tweet the other day that said that
Yeah.
most of the Democrats, something like 55 or 60%, want more progressive politicians.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a story out of Axios the other day. Yeah, Crenshaw. It looks like Crenshaw lost.
He's due.
They called it. Why aren't they giving us the update on Tony Gonzalez here at the New York Times?
But anyway, a lot of Democrats are looking for AOC to be the heir
Jeez,
to Bernie
no,
Sanders and run in
please no.
2028. And that's like a Democrat.
How about no,
thing they
guys?
want
How
for-
about no for
So we got
AOC?
NBC
And I
News.
think she
Give me a
could win,
thumbs up
but I
if you
thought-
don't
I
want
thought
AOC
Crockett
to
could
win.
too.
Oh,
you,
Brandon
you
just
don't want her
got
as
knocked way
president.
down.
Because can you imagine
that's not
her
looking
having
good.
the button?
Damn.
Like,
Yeah,
no, thank you.
he's down 6 points.
That is significant. Is there a map up?
The maps that we have. No, yeah, the 270 to win map doesn't include all the individual little houses. Oh wait, it does. Does it? It does. Okay, let's find 23.
Right there.
There's no map though.
That's my buddy's running in 32 right there, Jace. But I think he's clinched it.
Oh yeah, he's crushed it, bro.
Yeah.
70% in. He's got 51%. Let's go, Jace.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Let's go. Tony Gonzalez. Can you believe it if he wins?
62%.
You might lose $1,000.
Yeah, it's just money.
It's just money.
That's so disheartening.
I mean, I'm not trying to look at that.
I would make.
Kalshi Market's got him at 62%. And again, that's why I was saying, like, I don't want to be a dick, but would the machine state ever allow someone as based as Brandon Herrera?
Like I said, considering he was within 400 points, 400
Or
votes
votes.
last time,
Mhm.
and to think that he could, not
Your time's
win
not up, didn't it?
when Gonzalez has this terrible, scandal that's going on, makes you get a little bit black pilled. You're just like,
Crenshaw's gone.
How on earth does that happen?
All right, let's see. Let's see if we got an update on the Crenshaw. Oh, Crenshaw's cooked.
Yeah.
57% in.
He's done.
Yeah, he's down nearly 20 points.
This is going to be interesting, though, looking at the midterms going forward. You see a lot of these people who held office for a long time getting ousted in the primaries. That might be a good indicator that people are watching what's going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of the issues I have with Republicans is they fall asleep during the midterms. But if we're seeing people get their seats flipped like Crenshaw, that is a significant indicator that maybe midterms won't look like what a lot of people are predicting.
Isn't it kind of wild that Al Green did as well as he did?
What was that?
Oh, Al Green just got a big jump.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
God,
he's down by
no.
only 5.7. I'm saying, isn't it crazy he's done as well as he did?
Yeah, he's such a clown.
I really hope that he doesn't.
There's so much
get
like
it.
incumbents have such an advantage in Congress and stuff because the people that know who's running. Most people can't even, identify their own congressperson. Never mind, actually go out, be bothered to go out and vote for them. So people in Congress that are in Congress, they have such an advantage, and it's a shame because there's so many people in Congress that need to be primaried and removed and stuff. I mean, it seems like the only kind of silver lining is it looks like Crenshaw's not going to be the guy anymore. But it is a drag.
They've called it for K-Rabble with 0% reporting,
That just sounds
running
funny.
unopposed. Hey, I don't know if that's good or bad, but congratulations, Democrat.
There you go, Kyle.
Because he's in Tom Sells' district. Is that who it is?
Yeah. He's got that hat on, the 10-gallon hat, so he's a real Texan. Even though
Except he's a Democrat.
The kids.
Yeah.
I'm a real Texan.
What do they call it?
Cowboy who's into castration.
K. Self.
Hey.
Keith Self, the incumbent, has defeated Mark Nugent. I don't know if that's good or bad.
He doesn't even have a picture up there.
Let's see what he got.
Self is a weird last name. It's kind of, you know what else is a weird last name? Is person.
Just reminds me of that person called Ted Nugent, right?
Really, I've seen it out there.
If my last name was Person, I'd name my kid Guy.
Guy Person.
People would be like, that's not a real name. Like, my parents hate me.
Dude.
Like Northwest.
Everybody was like, Tim, you should name your son or daughter Gene. Either way, it works.
Yeah.
G or J. And then I was like, because I hate my child.
Yeah, don't hate your child.
What if it's a boy and I name him Cess?
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Cess.
Cess person?
No.
Cesspool.
Oh, cesspool. Oh.
Cess person.
Really terrible.
Gene person. Gene pool.
Yeah.
The things that people do. I've met. Yeah. Have you ever noticed there's a weird correlation between people's jobs?
That's all I
and their
would
names?
think of.
Really? Like what?
I think when he first announced that he had a kid, I put on his
some examples.
I took a meme and I made baby pool with the beanie on.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And I had the baby pool because I thought it was funny.
I think
he's a poker
I think
player.
he's a bank.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think he's a
He's
bank
one of the
teller.
most famous poker
Not a
players.
bank teller.
Doyle Brunson, Chris Moneymaker, these guys are. Yeah.
Moneymaker is one of the most famous poker pros. He's famous for
so
being.
far we have.
He won what's called a satellite tournament, which is a small,
So there's like
cheap,
today's race
amateur thing where you're
watches
trying to win
for
you're trying to
midterm
win a seat
primaries.
to the
That's what
actual
we're looking
tournament,
at, guys.
And then he won the tournament. And
You
it
have
boom where it
North
was like, you could be a
Carolina,
regular guy
83% in for
and his name is Moneymaker.
Out at 38%.
Yeah.
We just went with
North Carolina, Fauché is at 51%. The projected winner for North Carolina House District 11, Agar. North Carolina House District 11, projected winner is Edwards.
Districts.
Now we're on to Texas.
Like multiples of 0 votes in.
So for the Senate,
they're smaller counties.
It's called an
too early to
acronym.
call. So you have
when
Corinne
somebody
and Paxton.
coincidentally
Corinne is
has
at
a
42%
job.
and
Usain
Paxton at 40.
Oh, yeah.
The Democratic Senate
There's
seat,
a meteorologist named
Talarico's at
Amy Freed
53%.
and
Let's
another
hope
named Sarah
that he
Blizzard.
holds strong because I do not
There's,
want to deal with
Blizzard's
Jasmine
good.
Practice for another
There's
couple
numerous
years. Like,
Dr.
oh my
Butts
God,
who are
that chick
proctologists.
just
I know
God,
Dr.
no.
Butt.
Why?
But she's
for
at
the love of all that is
45%.
holy, would you have the last name
House
Butts and be
District
like, I'm a
2,
proctologist?
Republican
It's just your
primary,
calling? You're
you
like, I
have
have to do it.
You're the ass man.
at 57% and Crenshaw at 39, which is funny as hell.
It was Seinfeld.
Projected winner for House
Yeah.
District 2, Democratic Party
there's a
is
concept.
Sydney.
There's a concept called
This is
nominated
0%. I
determinism,
guess nobody went
which
at
is a hypothesis
at them,
that people will
which is
gravitate
kinda
towards
weird.
careers that fit
House
their
District
names.
9, you have
the
Gutierrez
general
at
idea
51% and
it's like,
Clayton
if you
at
will it, as a way, or
17%.
the inverse of out of sight, out of
House
mind.
District 9
When your
Republican
whole
Party,
life
you have
keep
Mueller
hearing
at
that
37,
word,
Kane at
you
30.
gravitate toward those things.
Texas
I
House
will
District
say
10,
that at the
you
same time,
have
many people's last names are literally just based on the job they have.
Man, these names are just
like
hilarious.
Chandler.
53% and
person.
Bayous at 14%. I'm chopping up
And
these
where
names,
you're
guys.
from.
I'm sorry, but some of these names are just like, wow.
Like your last name is
And
where
then
you're
House
from.
District 10, Democratic Party, you
John
have
of
Raouk
Barcelona.
at 49%, Marshall
That's the-
at
that's
39.
in the Midwest, a
So
lot of people like
Raouk
hear
is winning by
calculate
like
it's from
10.
Kuwait or
Like,
whatever.
that's crazy.
There's also, if people don't know this, Berg means hill in German.
Means hill?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't speak German, but there's a lot of places called Berg, and people now associate Berg with city,
we shall
but it
see,
referenced,
guys. We shall see.
you know, like John's Hill. You know,
And as you see in the upper left-hand corner, I
family,
basically
like, on
have what's going on
Norwegian
right
and the
now
Yankee side, they're all pretty
in
traceable to,
Iran.
like
So
the thing
that's some crazy
that it
craziness.
was. You know, like
Berg is
resident
why
of
do you
this
say
valley.
Berg in the surname is primarily
Okay,
of
there we
German,
go.
Dutch, and Jewish origin, and it means castle or fortress.
We can
Berg in German and Swedish means hill or mountain.
Who conquered who first and renamed it? That's kind of
what?
Who conquered who first, then renamed it? Berg is now castle.
Yes.
Oh no! Tony
no.
Gonzalez took another big jump.
Rough.
Oh no!
Crazy that people would vote for that guy.
Yeah.
So if
I
I
also thought it
if
was
I bet
crazy that
against
people vote
Brandon
for
right now,
what's his name? Jay
1G
Jones
wins me
in
2G,
Virginia,
2Gs.
even though he was like, let's kill kids
Yeah.
so that their parents learn lessons about gun control.
I can't do it.
Oh God.
Not in good
I can't do it. We're still going to bet 999,999 on Brendan Herrera to win.
Whoa,
If
that's
I
crazy.
wager $1 million, I will win back $9,000. No, it's
Why
you
would
can
you
only
raise
wager
that?
$8,000.
Totally worth it. Come on, the big money.
So let's go ahead and listen in on what this guy is.
Came too late.
I think it did come too late. And Nate Sheets has certainly run an aggressive campaign, well organized, and he's competed well. What's surprising to me is, Sid Miller has got a relationship with farmers and ranchers, unlike, probably any other agriculture commissioner since Rick Perry. And so it's a bit of surprise that he's not getting a bigger piece of the vote.
That's
but
crazy.
Nate Sheets has clearly run a strong campaign, and I do think that the Trump endorsement came in a little too late.
How big of a deal is this? Because we haven't seen an incumbent knocked off in Texas in a minute. I'm trying to think of the last one that happened in the last decade or so.
Ralph Hall?
I think it's a really
Ralph
big deal.
Hall, yeah, that's been
Ralph
what, 10
Hall.
years.
Statewide, I don't remember.
Yeah, statewide, I don't remember.
Yeah, and this is a big deal. And I think one of the things you see, used to be a lot of people in the cities didn't even vote in the ag commissioner race, couldn't even pick out who it was. In this case, Sheets went, hey, you know what? Let's talk to those moms in the suburbs who are concerned about what's in their food. And let's do that. Plus, the guy went everywhere. Right? I mean, he has hustled. He's talked to. I think he's talked to every farmer in the state. I mean, he's really been everywhere. So
Sheets has.
He's worked hard. He's worked hard.
The one of the campaign for Julie Johnson is sharing out some texts that apparently were sent prematurely from the Colin Allred campaign when they were claiming victory. They said, we did it, we just won our primary. Now he's the official Democratic nominee. So it looks like a few of these were sent out by mistake pretty early because there's still a lot left to count.
There's nothing in.
And well,
Officially 14 minutes, but somebody might be at Dallas County election headquarters.
the polls are still open. No, come on. Yeah, they might be down there.
That tells you who was confident going into the day.
That's a little embarrassing, though, right there.
You should have those written, but don't hit the send button.
Don't even put them.
Let's listen to Quinikiak. I think that would be better to pay attention to.
Out of Durham, based on that, it was 55-44. She just won that 59-40.
Yeah, it's 56-42.
So now it's 14 points, and we think how much is now left?
Just for Durham?
Yeah.
It's still about 9,000 is what we have here.
So if she were able to win, she just won that by almost 20 points. If she could win the rest of the vote coming out of Durham, and do we have any same day out of Wake?
No, nothing yet.
Okay. So little unclear coming out of Durham here. That last batch was really good for Elam. If she were to win the rest of the vote out of Durham by a similar margin, she could cut off half of this Fushi advantage right here. But what Fushi just got out of Orange and Chatham was really good news.
It just sounds funny.
For her. And waiting
y'all
same day.
can call me a
wait.
child.
So,
It's fine.
bit
Because
of a mixed bag right there, but
I
I
just
think,
be
again,
laughing
this is
at
one-
some
I
of
don't
these
know,
things
if
because
folks
I
were
just
looking at
start
this race
thinking
and
of
saying,
jokes and stuff
the
in my
energy
head.
was on the Elam side because of what we'd seen in some other primaries. I think it was that New Jersey one we covered a couple weeks ago here. Fushi, we said this about Gonzalez in Texas. I said this a little bit about Green in Texas. And I think we said
It just
about Fushi
reminds me
very,
of when they
very
say Fuchi.
in this game with 80% of the vote.
Which is
down
Spanish,
there.
in case
We'll
you
come
guys
back
didn't know
to
that, which means
let's go back
ew.
over to Texas.
You know, when you say that word,
the Senate race is the star
like
here,
you're just
right,
saying
both
like,
sides. So
ew,
let's-
it's
we're at
stinky.
45%.
You know,
I think we just got something.
But
decent
yeah,
size here in the
that's
Democratic
what I
race.
think
Is that
of when
right?
they say the name.
Bunch of small updates since the last time we checked.
Okay, do we have any same day early split on the Democratic side?
Yeah, a little bit less overall, but I can give you an update. So right now we have about 10,000 votes indexed on the Democratic side in the election day vote, and we have Crockett winning that 50-49 I'll try to check.
God, I really hope she doesn't win, guys.
But
that's
like,
that's that update.
oh my God, can you imagine how glorious it would be?
But that's very
the
small,
memes that would just come
very,
out
very
of that,
little
guys.
on the same day front
Of the
there.
fact that she would lose.
And
Like, it'd be
we're getting close to 10.
epic, bro. Epic.
So we can start talking about this. Yeah, we're 10 minutes away from 10 o'clock right now. And I put this in the back of my mind. Maybe you did too. But it's time to stop. Dallas County, we may get numbers from 10 minutes from now. I don't know how this delay has affected tabulation, but I can tell you that in the 2024 presidential election, Dallas County released 580,000 early votes at 8 o'clock on the dot. 8 o'clock was when polls closed. It was the earliest they could do it, and they released all of their early vote right then. So poll closing was delayed in Dallas County from 8 to 10, because of that issue with voters needing to go to precincts. And many of them not being aware of that, just confusion, lots of confusion.
We have,
so the new poll closing time is 10 minutes from now. And again, you see what happens. We get.
Can you imagine if they would have passed the state back? Dude, how funny.
The significance
because
of
you
that
know a lot of
is
people
this.
would be pissed. Because imagine having to
right now,
prove that you're a citizen because you had non-citizens voting.
80,000 votes. This is just about only early vote that you're looking at. We've talked about the different contours in this race, but look, we've got Bexar County where San Antonio is.
Like, come on, dude. Like, I would never want to vote for a Democrat, but I'm hoping that dude wins.
We're still waiting on McAllen, but we've got some of the big population centers there in South Texas.
I mean, just it'd be just glorious to just mega that.
4% of the vote on the Democratic side. The biggest single thing we're waiting for on this map is Dallas County. How big Dallas County is? Could be, let's estimate 12%. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 12% of all votes that are going to be cast across the 254 counties of Texas are going to come out of Dallas County. And Dallas County is the home of Jasmine Crockett. So an hour or two ago, I've lost track of the time, in Travis County, James Tallarico's home county, which is, it turns out generally, a slightly smaller number of votes than Dallas County. I don't know exactly how that's going to look with all the turnout issues they've had in Dallas County today, but typically these are almost comparable in size in terms of votes in a Democratic primary. Dallas County is bigger than Travis County. Travis County, though, massively Democratic, massive turnout. And you see what that did for Tallarico. He was able to get 3/4 of the vote, and he was able to net 71,000 votes there over Crockett. Now, again, statewide, look at Tallarico's advantage over Crockett. It's basically Travis County. It's Travis County in change. That's the lead that Tallarico has over Crockett statewide. And Crockett has the ability here out of Dallas County potentially to deliver. I said this, Tallarico delivered a punch with Travis. She can punch right back with Dallas County. That's the opportunity she has less than 10 minutes now when the polls do close in Dallas County. It's her home. She's expected to do well. She's expected to do very well there, and it's a massive source of votes. Harris County has the most in the state. That's 15%. Dallas County is going to probably have the second most in the state, probably about 12% of the vote. I've been talking about the benchmarks that I've got for these Democratic candidates in different counties. And I can tell you that the benchmark that I have for Crockett out of Dallas County is 70%. So, that's Tallarico in his home, got 76.
I really hope she doesn't win, guys.
And there, lo and behold, that's his lead.
But
that's almost.
She probably will cheat. Now, the Democrats are smart because they don't want her to win either.
Crockett, Dallas County,
they do like that underhanded thing that they did in the other election.
I don't know. They've not always lined up with what's happened, but that's the kind of number that Crockett's looking for when Dallas County releases, and it'll be the early vote. It'll be the lion's share of the vote out of Dallas County, but there will still be same-day vote to come, and that is the piece of it that we're trying to figure out. We're starting to see a little bit of it on the Republican side in that Senate race. How different does the same-day vote look than the election day vote? We really, unless something's happened in the last 5 minutes, we don't have any.
There's a little bit developing right now out of Dallas. So the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocked the earlier ruling to keep the polls open till 9. So there's a big question. There's question marks about those ballots there, or those votes that have been cast since the original closing time and now. unclear of how it'll affect reporting or the results.
Say this again.
So the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocked the earlier ruling that we talked about earlier in the show.
This is the one to keep it to 10.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they're trying to figure out, I guess, now what to do legally with the ballots that have been cast or the votes that have been cast in that extended period.
Okay, in this 2 hour. Okay, so do we have? So and we don't know then if they're going. That means.
Yeah, it just.
That sounds like they're not going to.
It's playing out right now, and yeah, it doesn't give me optimism that Dallas County.
This is the danger. Feel free to cut me off next time when I start going down that road.
I'm just going down on a tangent.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Now I don't feel as. Well, okay. I wasn't that far behind.
Like, well, I
maybe
feel
you've read about it, maybe you've seen it yourself. This has happened in the last couple minutes, but you just heard my producer explaining it. We'll restate it once more because it's very important, and it's also the way he's explaining that to me. This
way
is the kind of question sometimes that can linger in terms of challenges and stuff after. The polls closed at 8 o'clock across Texas, except in Dallas County and only on the Democratic side in Dallas County. The way it works in Texas is very unique from other states, and that is that the two parties can run these primaries jointly. They can administer them jointly, but they don't have to. And in Dallas County, that's what happened. The tradition in Dallas County has been that the two parties run them jointly, and what they've done is they've had these county voting centers that you could go to. You didn't have to worry about finding an exact precinct and going to the exact correct precinct on election day. You went to the county voting center, you voted, and that was it. That worked that way for the Democratic and for the Republican primaries. The Republicans in Dallas County, Texas, said they did not want to do it that way this year. They wanted to go to a precinct-based system. So this applied to what happened for the Republicans. The Republicans have reported out vote from Dallas County tonight, but they essentially set up their own, and the Democrats were left to set up their own. And so this, based on precincts, based on voters having to now go to these individual precincts, and there were reports all throughout the day of voters on the Democratic side who were showing up at where they traditionally gone, being told, well, this is no longer your precinct, you got to find your precinct, all of that confusion. So there was a court ruling to keep the polls open in Dallas County till 10 p.m. Now a higher court has stepped in and invalidated that. And so the question is, these last 2 hours, while voters have been casting votes after 8 p.m., they've cast them, a higher court has stepped in. What's the status of those votes? What are they considered? Do they put them, and what do they do in terms of reporting out the votes from before?
Like, how do you know that?
The ones that were cast since 8 aside?
Like, are they tagged or something?
Do they put everything aside and wait for so you're probably following, if you're watching this, you're super engaged in this, and you're trying to answer these questions too. You're trying to figure this out. We are too. And Adam, like, if you want to just read any guidance we get, if you want to just see anything we have from our reporters, please do so. Tell me. Because again, this primary, I don't want to say it's too early to say that it hinges on Dallas County, but you can see what I'm describing there. In terms of the singular importance of Dallas County to what's left here. Because I'm just looking, what else do we have here in terms of the big population centers on the Democratic side that we haven't yet heard from? Well, yeah, El Paso's 4% of the vote on the Democratic side. And again, just based on what we're seeing throughout South Texas here, El Paso is very much demographically in line with what you're going to see. I think there's an expectation that Tallarico is going to do very well in El Paso County. We've got, Brazoria County. This is in that greater Houston area. This is pretty good size here outside of, just outside of Houston, where we don't have anything from there yet. I showed you Beaumont, right? It's next door here. Jefferson County. This is up here, Bowie County. This is where Texarkana is. I think this will be a decent size. It's small, but there's a large black population. You would expect Crockett to be doing very well here. But again, I'm just looking for the major population centers or significant population centers that we haven't heard from. A big one also. This is a huge one. right outside of Austin. This
That's
is
what
in
she said.
Talarico's wheelhouse too, Williamson County here. Just north of Austin here, very democratic and very. This is again just we're seeing him do extremely well down here. So look, I think Talarico is going to get a big boost out of Williamson. I think he's going to get a boost out of El Paso County. There are some other areas as we fill in the rest of South Texas here. Don't forget, this is where McAllen is, Hidalgo County. This is another big one. You could certainly be a shock right now if Talarico doesn't win that big. There are several areas here where Talarico, I think, is pretty clearly going to pad that margin. And that margin has inched up a bit here since the last time we checked in. It was sitting there.
Stand by for News Now, yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a News Now hit.
Yep.
Okay, folks, they're resetting on News Now, and they're going to come over here in a second. Okay, let me just.
They hold my beer, guys. Checking some stuff.
I have to ask a question about the guidance we just got to my producer.
He's like, I'll be back, guys. I gotta ask a question because I'm unsure.
Everything I've seen, yeah.
Okay. We're waiting here to go on News Now, probably in about 90 seconds. So I'll complete the thought. And we don't have anything from Texas 2.
The only thing we got recently, we got a little more election day out of Fort Bend County, which affects the Green Menifee race, but small amount of ballots there.
How did the election day? How was that breaking?
So 300 new votes in Fort Bend, 218 for Green, 87 for Menifee.
Okay.
And that was the county he was doing better.
Yeah, right. Okay, so now he's going to have to. He's going to have to big. I was just telling me about the Al Green race in Houston 18. We have about a minute. I just wanted to complete the thought here. It is when you look at what's left here in the early vote, you do see some clear opportunities here for Talarico to pad this margin. And again, it's just ticked up a little bit. A lot of it is from small, counties just kind of filling in. But it's ticked up since we really started talking about Dallas County a few minutes ago. It was in the 70s at that point. Now it's up to 82,000. So, again, huge question mark around Dallas County, all the reasons we were just saying. I think this really, when you look at the rest of this map, when we do get numbers out of Dallas County, I had set a benchmark of 70, for Crockett. That might need to be revised up for her. I think she may need something bigger than that to offset what you're seeing from Talarico and some of these other places. But I'm just, I think they're coming to me here in a second. So I'm just, let me ask my producer one more question before we go on the air with them.
Hey, hold up. Question.
Where are we standing right now?
Let me look for the latest update. So we're up to 33,000 same day votes.
Yep.
Paxton 43.
Yep.
Cornyn 40.
Okay. So it's and do you have the comp for? Oh, I
43, 40.
That was the early.
That was the early, yeah.
For Cornyn.
For Cornyn, yeah.
So it's a flip, yeah. Okay. Okay. Folks, folks on the live stream, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. But we're about to go live. We're going to talk about both of these races. In North Carolina 4?
Nothing in North Carolina 4. We got 1,000 votes out of El Paso.
The Democratic.
Okay. Oh, we got more than
just for Texas 23. But we should have more of it overall. Yep.
Folks, we were saying Talarico should get it out. Look at that. Add another 10,000 to his pad over Crockett, El Paso. Again, totally in line with what we're seeing there with him in the Hispanic vote.
Yeah, I think some people vote just based off of race, which I think is stupid. I think that's a stupid reason to vote for somebody. Like, I believe you should vote for person
They're still
based
doing
off of
the races
how
on news
good
now.
they are.
So we
You
got,
know, like,
yeah,
not
again.
because, oh, you know, they're brown or Hispanic or
Somebody
whatever.
keeps saying stand by, but
Like,
they're not.
I think it's stupid to vote like that.
I'm sorry, folks. They're still in the thing. El Paso.
Matthew, who's tracking all of it here. Steve, take your pick. There's a bunch of stuff that's been interesting that's developed here. Obviously, the Senate race, what's happening in Dallas. We may want to start there, but can we also talk about some of these House races?
Yeah.
What's up with Dan Crenshaw? What's up here with Tony Gonzalez, too?
Yeah, look, Gonzalez is in the game there in 23. I'll call that one up right here. The way this is gigantic geographically, this district, but the majority of the population is right here. This is Bexar County. Okay, this is San Antonio metro area here. Early vote, and this is the early vote that you're looking at right here. This is half the district just in this slice of the county. Gonzalez is leading this by, it's 7.5. You want to round it up to 8 points. That's the exact same margin he won this county by in 2024 when he beat Herrera by this much. And if you look at some of the other counties right here, you're seeing a lot of stuff that kind of, it's looking right now in the early vote there like it's close like it was in 24. So I think a lot of folks looked at Gonzalez maybe because of the scandal as a goner coming into tonight, but he's certainly putting up a fight. The incumbent right now, who you definitely do not want to be, is Dan Crenshaw calling up that race. It is
That
where
is
it
still
stood
tripping
when
me
I
out,
last
is
talked
that
to you.
how
And I'll
he's
zoom in
losing.
on the area here. We're in the northern
Like,
Houston
that's
suburbs
crazy
here,
to me.
okay? This district covers some of Harris County, small part of Harris County. That is where Houston is, but this is suburbs here. This is early vote. Toth, the challenger, leading there, high single digits. And then Montgomery County here, Toth's base. Look at this, nearly a 30-point margin in the early vote. Crenshaw, what we're waiting on here, the reason you're looking at this and you're saying, well, how come there's no check mark or anything? The decision desk here wants to see, this is what we do for every race, what the same-day vote looks like. That's only early vote you're looking at. They
This
want
is
to make
not,
sure,
like,
it may seem
the
unlikely,
main
but they want to
vote.
make sure that Crenshaw isn't winning the same-day vote by like 30 points. Something, I mean, he would have to be winning it by 25, 30 points, something like that. Enough to offset that massive advantage that his challenger has gotten.
Like, I'm
so
still
when we
hoping
start
that
getting
the
early vote, if it looks
Talarico
anything
guy
at all
wins.
like it did in the same day, when we start getting same-day vote, if it looks anything at all like we got in the early vote, that's probably it for Crenshaw.
All right, Steve, can we check out what's happening with the Talarico Crockett race?
Terrace is blowing it out the water, bro.
Yes.
Right
so
here,
again,
it shows
this
you
number,
with
you see the margin that
51%.
Talarico has. Just about all of this, again, is early vote. We barely have any of the same day vote in. You know, always looking to see if that looks different. But in the early vote, we've been watching this number creep up. This is the margin Talarico has over Crockett. Now sits at 93,000. This has gone up about 15,000 votes just in the last 5 minutes. Why is that? Well, a big piece of real estate came in, big in terms of population. That's out in the West Texas town of El Paso. James Talarico with a 27-point advantage over Crockett in the early vote there out of El Paso. This is like 3 or 4% of all the vote in the Democratic primary is coming out of El Paso County. It's not a surprise to see this after what else we've seen along the border and in
Can
South
she win
Texas.
it?
But that's
I'm
10,000
really hoping
votes.
she
That's
does
a
it.
10,000 vote plurality for Talarico. You know, again, that puts them up 93,000 statewide. What it means is when everything gets sorted out in Dallas County, and I know that looks like an incredibly complicated situation right now.
Well, I was just going to say, Steve, a holy complication, holy potential for a long night /day/days plural.
Yeah, and I mean, we were just talking through here. I mean, what do you do? The vote that was cast in the last 2 hours, do they put it aside? Do they release everything else? Do they not release any? So I have no idea, and I'm hoping you guys maybe can fill in some of the blanks. But the point is, when we do
Let me
see
let Ryan,
that
Steve,
vote,
let me let Ryan Nobles jump in here.
So, Steve, I guess the question would be, you know, obviously
Are we
Dallas
good?
and that county are crucial to
Whoever's
Crockett.
coughing,
So what
are you
kind of
good?
margin are we talking about that Talarico would have to bank that would make whatever vote count doesn't necessarily, you know, is contested in some way, shape, or form because of this court battle? How big of a margin would he have to go in where ultimately that wouldn't matter? I mean, the votes will get counted at some point or not counted, but is there a margin in which he would feel comfortable enough that he wouldn't have to worry about that outstanding vote that's being haggled over in court?
Yeah, you know what? In fact, we can, Adam. What's the current expected vote out of Dallas County? Because I can give you, if you'll bear with me here for 30 seconds, we can get you a number here.
Steve, I'm going to jump in because I want to get, there's some court action that's happened in literally the last couple of minutes here. And I want to get to our team on the ground now in Texas because it is essentially now not clear whether the votes cast after the original poll close time are going to count. Let me go to Talarico headquarters. Ryan Schiller is there.
That would
Crystal,
be
what's happened?
nuts.
Is it
Well, okay.
All
But
right.
now we can talk. Now we can
She
do
faded
what I wanted
away.
to do for the News Now folks here in the stream. What is the expected vote out of Dallas? And this comes with a lot of asterisks. We don't know what they're describing now. Is we have no idea votes cast for the last 2 hours if they're.
What's
even gonna end
crazy
up
is that
counting.
is this like
as I
a
would-
prelude to what's going to happen in the
Yeah, stand by
midterms?
with me.
Like
I'm having a little.
literally
Okay.
the primaries, like the
Okay.
main.
What I was going to say
kickoff.
on the air was a version of what I think I was saying before before we went on the air. I was saying to you folks, and that is again, I had a benchmark of 70,000, 70% here for Crockett. I think she needs to
I
be
really
higher,
hope
and
she
maybe
doesn't.
significantly higher. The way again, it just
What the heck was the name of that
ticked up
guy?
Again,
Let me
that
see.
Talarico margin.
Oh,
He
man.
is collecting votes, and he's going to get. This is going to be. Williamson County, when this comes in, is going to be very good for him, I think. That's going to drive that margin up. I think if that came in right now, he'd go over 100,000. There's still more here in this. Look, McAllen, Hidalgo County. That's going to be significant when it comes in. There's no. It'd be inconceivable that that's not big for Talarico. So again, you could just see it does get to the point here. Where if you're Crockett, I say you got to go over 70. I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out with Adam. How far over 70? Because it is getting that number is going to have to be.
I have an estimate for you.
Pretty high. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So Dallas County, the estimate that we currently have is 313,000 votes countywide.
Yeah.
For the Democratic race.
Okay. So here we go. Pull my old calculator out here.
Hidalgo County also just came.
Really?
I want
okay.
to get back to the board.
Oh crap, Hidalgo.
Yeah, and
County.
again, we just said it would be inconceivable
I know people
if
from
Talarico
there,
was
that's
not
why.
running up the score in Hidalgo County. And look at that, a
It's
36 point
Hidalgo.
margin from there in the early vote. And he's now well over 111,000 votes. I'm sorry, give me the expected Dallas County again.
313.
Okay.
I really hope
Right,
they didn't
so-
vote for her. That girl, she too ratchet. And
94,
it's funny because she's fake as hell because she didn't grow up in the hood, but she wants
Yeah.
to pretend that she hood.
I mean, if she. Let me take you through what we got here. Our
Guys
expected
seem
vote,
like,
and this is subject
what?
to change. And again, the issue in Dallas County is to give you an expected vote in Dallas County when we just have no idea the fate of these ballots. So this is purely sort of a theoretical exercise, but I just want to kind of take you through it. Let's say the expected vote out of
More
Dallas
races.
County,
We're
is
getting more races.
300,000. Let's use a nice round number there. I think it might be
De La
somewhere
Cruz
in that
won
neighborhood. So we say
by
if Crockett
0%.
were to get 70% of that, right? That would be 210,000
okay, so I say
for
green.
her.
He's
That would be
losing
90,000 for Talarico, right? Okay, so
by not by a lot because
be
the
a difference of
person above him got 48 and he got
120,000,
43. So
votes.
we shall see. Projected winner is
And you just look at the margin
Nihal
right now that
in
Talarico has. It just
District
continues
2.
to rise with more to come in, sitting at 111,000. So when I say she's got to go over, I think she wants to go.
Again,
if you were Crockett,
Gonzalez
you'd
is
probably,
at 62% and
something.
House
It's gonna have
District
to be
34.
super high because we're looking at one county for her, and
That's
we're
some
just looking
crazy-ish,
at kind of
man.
Talarico building a plurality kind of in different corners of the state right here. And it's not really, we're talking about, it all comes down to Dallas. It all comes down to Dallas for Crockett. It doesn't come down to one
I
particular
think
place
all
for
eyes are on
Talarico.
Texas
Again, we
because
told
of
you
the
El
fact that
Paso,
they
we saw
changed their
that.
maps, you know?
We told you McAllen. We just saw that. We're still waiting on Williamson. Let's see if that one's going to drive his number up further. So she could make a very, very big dent in his lead out of Dallas County, but she's going to need something.
I'm gonna
something
laugh
massive,
if like the majority of
something
Latinos
massive out of it,
voted for
because again,
the
look at
white
this whole
boy
area
and
of the
not
state. These small
Desmond
counties,
Crockett.
they're not going to be much, but they are going to add up.
Because like her losing, she's gonna literally say it's because of my racism.
So we got some election day vote out of North Carolina 4, Wake County. So we got about 2,600 votes. Elam wins it 50-46.
Out of 2,600 votes. Okay. So this is now it's 3.5 points for Fushi. Alam just won a same-day batch out of Wake County. We have 80% of the vote. Two questions. Do we have an expected vote for the district?
Yeah, the expected vote total for the district.
Yeah. It froze. Go!
Is 121. 121, so we have about 25.
25-46 right now. And you said it's 121?
Yeah, and there's a minor candidate that's getting 2% of the vote.
Okay, 26,000 and change. And what is the same day tracking at? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the same day's tracking overall, 51-46 for Alam.
Okay, but what's the same? We're pretty much done in orange.
Now my quack quacks are going to be going
what's the
downstairs,
same
so
day
you'll
tracking in
probably
Durham?
hear the quack attack coming through.
Durham, 56-42.
Okay, Chatham?
Chatham, Fushi's winning it. There's about 1,600 election day votes there.
Yeah.
55-40.
Okay, and then you just gave us Wake. What was the number you gave us out of Wake?
50-46 for Alam.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's, look, Fushi she's won Orange County. This might be about all we get out of Orange County in terms of results.
Now, I'm going to need some Red
2,200
Bull.
vote margin, about 8 points for Valerie Fushi.
I'm going to have to buy myself
She
like
has
big
padded that lead.
packets
Chatham
of
County has
it.
come
My
in
favorite is
huge
blueberry
for
Red
her.
Bull.
And she is
it sucks
winning
because they
the
stopped
same
selling
day
it.
vote
Like,
in Chatham
they're
County.
discontinuing
Now,
it, which
Chatham County is the smallest part
makes
of
me
this,
want to cry.
but that's helping to chip away, to offset a little bit.
I'm going to need
of
to
the same-day
stockpile
advantage that
that.
Alam has
So
here
when the
in
actual
Durham
midterms
County.
come,
Look,
because
again,
that's
we're
going to be like
85%
almost an
here in
all-nighter,
Durham
so
County.
you get your girl
Alam now
almost all
has pulled
night.
ahead by 3
Hey.
points, but remember what we told you at the start of the night.
But yeah, so I'm
Alam
going to have
won
to
in this
find other
county
topics to
in
talk about while we're
2020,
watching all
excuse me,
this
2022
so
by
that we
6
can see
points.
that.
So
But
Alam
who
is
knows?
not
We
even
might be in
reached
full-blown
her
World War
2022
III at that
level
point.
when a
So there'll
6-point
definitely be a
margin
lot
in
to talk
Durham
about
County
because
was
between
not
World War
enough
III,
for
the
her to win
protests,
district-wide.
you know, and the
Wake County, Alam
midterms
winning the same-day
primary
vote
of
for the
it.
seat, but she's not winning it by a massive
Lots
margin.
to talk
The
about.
most
And
outstanding
we're not
vote in
even
this
in
district is in
October
Wake
yet
County.
because we should be getting like the October surprises.
We got
So,
Dallas.
whew, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a wild one.
Same day, early vote down. Okay, wow. Okay. Do we know if this is an
Dude, why?
Do we know the status of that
I
vote?
really hope that's not true, bro. I hope it's not
Okay,
true.
okay.
That's going to suck.
Before I get into this, we want to
News Now is
we're
gonna
going to go
come
on to
later.
News Now and talk about this. Folks, not a good number for your Crockett.
Whew, that scared me. I was like, oh my God, please say it does though, because it does.
They've given us the cue, yeah.
Okay, folks, they're taking, Crockett is speaking right now. I'm just, she's saying, you know, there's going to be nothing in terms of result till tomorrow, but
and this is why we need same day live results.
Sorry, I'm stumbling because I think they're going to come back here.
On this, because Steve, I think the question now, and you heard her lay this out, she says if we don't have the results in Dallas, where she's expected to do fairly well, a stronghold for her, we don't have the votes for tonight. So let me ask you, I don't know if we know, will the vote in Dallas make enough of a difference at this point in the race?
We just got the vote from Dallas. Now, we don't know if this is that whole issue of the 2-hour window you're talking about. So I want to say that, you know, before I show you this, but we did get a substantial amount of vote in Dallas. This is the early vote. So I don't know what's going to happen in Dallas County after this, but this is the early vote. This is the vote cast before Election Day, okay, about 60%, and give or take of what the total will be. Crockett winning this by 22 points here. Now, that is a difference of 43,000 votes over Tallarico. What that does statewide, you can see that Tallarico number back down to 70,000. It had crept there up, you know, over 110,000. In fact, she just gathered some more votes somewhere else, and it ticked down a little. But you see it brought it down to 70,000. But it is still a 70,000 vote advantage statewide for Tallarico. And that early vote out of Dallas is, we think, well over half the total vote. Whatever it ends up being, we think it's well over than half. She was able to net 43,000 plurality with well over half of it, and she still trails statewide by 70,000 votes. So even if the rest of the vote in Dallas County came in and looked just like that, she would still be well short here of that margin that Tallarico has built. I want to say I've been, our audience on streaming tonight, we have been showing benchmarks.
I really hope she loses.
Candidates and the counties have come in. Are they
like,
hitting the
oh my
numbers
God,
they need to
enough
hit?
with her.
The
Like, I just don't
number we
want to hear her no
established in
more.
Dallas
I'm
County
so
for
over
Jasmine
her.
Crockett was 70%. This is 61%. This is her home county. This is her base here. This is where she needs to drive up the number. So in the early vote here, she's short of that. Now, again, did she have a flood of support same day? Were there ballots cast between 8 and 10 o'clock that we,
were there mail-in ballots
that are above my pay grade to address?
Think about that.
But the early vote
were
here,
there mail-in ballots?
The early vote here, I think.
I hope they got rid of those.
61%. She wants to be near 70 here, not near 60.
They were ballot harvesting.
What we've seen happen statewide. Again, we were saying this. While we sort of focus on Dallas for Crockett, we have been watching Tallarico in different corners of the state start to pad this plurality. So I think the last time I was on with you, he brought El Paso in. I'm not sure if you had seen, but Hidalgo County came in. We knew this was going to be big for Tallarico the way South Texas was going. This is where McAllen is, and it was big for Tallarico.
Yeah,
another giant one that we're waiting on that I think is going to be massive for Tallarico is
the
Williamson
RGB
County.
section.
Right outside Austin. Again, this is the
Latinos are very Catholic and Christian.
You saw Crockett put
believe
his dent in
so.
it
They might
with
not
Dallas's
fall
vote. We think that's more than half the vote out of Dallas County.
They might not vibe with Crockett and more so with the other dude because I think he was playing towards his religion as well.
Build on that 70, and that leaves whatever's left in Dallas. And again, there's a question here of what's left in Dallas, but whatever it is, it does not appear that there's enough there. To be putting a dent in this. She would need something from somewhere else to give her the X. She would need a big flood of same-day support somewhere else. It's not just going to come.
Let me check
Dallas.
to see if anything's going on
it
with
could be
the
a long
Iran
night/few days as we continue to track that. Steve Kornacki, thank you.
I know you'll yell early and often if anything's interesting on that. I want to sneak in very quickly to the conversation.
Okay. Okay. I am going to just take a glass of water here. Do you have something, Adam?
Yeah, so our decision desk did get some comment from the Dallas County Elections Office. They said if someone was in line by 7 o'clock, they were allowed to cast their regular ballot. But if they joined the line after 7, they had to cast a provisional ballot. We should get an update as the total number of provisional ballots that were cast by the end of tonight. But that's where we stand in terms of
Okay, and that also sounds like they're kind of punting on, if the ballot was cast provisionally, we're not going to know tonight if it's going to count in the election.
Yeah, I think it's a legally dubious territory right now.
Okay, so again, pardon me here. What we're talking about out of Dallas, this is 190,000 votes.
I'm going to refresh again, guys.
We think, roughly, our decision desk thinks there's probably about 120,000 votes still to come.
And that Agar dude blew this person out the water.
Again, if you just heard Adam, a lot of these are going to be provisional ballots.
64% to 15%,
with the question of are they going to count ultimately or not? But I think the point here is that 190,000 were just counted. They were early votes. And from that 190,000, Crockett was able to build a net plurality of 43,000 votes. Now, in the same day vote, she has a much smaller pool to draw from. It was 190,000. Now she's only going to draw from roughly around 120,000 votes, maybe fewer. Okay, again, trying to drive up a plurality to counter what is now a 71,000 vote lead for Tallarico statewide. Again, there are some, you look here in East Texas, we talked about how, large black populations, voting populations in a lot of these counties. A place here, this is like where Texarkana is. I expect this is going to go well for Crockett. There are some others in here. Harrison County, I think that's going to go, very well for Crockett. So there are some places in here. But again, like East Texas here, I want to make sure not to include Houston in this, but East Texas, where she's going to get these big margins, it's probably 4% of all the votes in the statewide primary. Again, that's like the equivalent of El Paso, basically, of El Paso County. In terms of the votes that are going to come out of here. So I'm just looking at this map, trying to see where else outside of Dallas County, where else is Crockett in line to get a big batch of
It's
votes.
crazy
She is
how
leading
blue it
next
is.
door here in Tarrant County. She's not
Oh
running
wait,
up the
that's
kind
like
of
the
number,
votes.
in Tarrant County.
But
that you
it's
got
so
out of
crazy
Dallas
that those
County.
are all
Again,
the
in the
Democrats.
early
Like,
vote
I
in
wonder
Tarrant,
how many
it is
people
about a
voted
12-point lead
like
for her.
in
This is
total
Fort Worth.
for the Senate.
There are going to
Like,
be a fair number of votes here. So if the
because if
same
you add
day
those
vote in
numbers
Tarrant
up,
is
those are all the
anything like
Democrats that are voting
the early vote,
out of Texas.
she will net, she'd be able to get another, 10,000 votes or something out of that. But again, chasing what is a 70,000 vote advantage for Tallarico. You're just seeing Tallarico, I think,
because y'all remember
statewide
when
here,
Trump
there's a breadth
was up
to what he's
in
put
2020,
together statewide
and then
here,
overnight,
that
poof,
I think really
all of a sudden,
is powered in part by
it flipped.
what's happening in the southern part of the
like,
state. I mean,
that's-
first of all, his own
that's too
base in
insane for
Austin
us to
really
flip
came
that
through.
fast.
But what's happening in South Texas, what's happening in El Paso, in Webb County, in Cameron County, in Hidalgo County.
While we let that roll, and I'll keep refreshing this top one so we can see the numbers, but I wanted to show you this other thing. So let me just grab that for you guys. So this guy I tend to watch a lot. This is the Canadian prepper. He actually had predicted what was going on with Ukraine and Russia before it popped off. Like, he has pretty good information. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I do watch his channel because he has the Prepper channel and the Canadian Prepper channel, and he has Prepper News. He split his channel because he used to do all that stuff on the Canadian Prepper channel, but the Canadian Prepper channel is mainly kind of geared towards learning how to live off the grid and what you need, all the do's and don'ts. So he's really good about it when it comes to stuff like that. So let's go ahead and listen in what this guy has to say about what's what.
So it looks like we're going to get boots on the ground in Iran. The Senate is about to vote on whether or not the war in Iran is a good idea. I guess that's usually something you would do before you go to war and not just unilaterally declare it yourself. We have a shock and awe campaign that has been ongoing for the last 24 hours since I made my last very drowsy update about 24 hours ago. We have a new Ayatollah who has been selected. We have a market crash that occurred earlier in the day. Of course, plunge protection came in, and Donald Trump came in with a promise of covering the insurance premium risk, which caused a slight retracement, but the market's still going to crash. We have Iran, which is going scorched earth on the entirety of the region, but it's going to be much harder for us to get video footage out of that region now that we're seeing the same martial measures being imposed as we did in Ukraine.
Not going to want us to
we
see
have
what's
the
really,
possibility of a nuclear strike, according
and then you're
to
gonna get all the
insider
propaganda.
traders,
You don't
up
know
to
what's AI and
17%
what's not.
by
So
June 30th.
It's going to be crazy.
We have U.S. commanders sending out memos to their troops indicating that they are currently fighting a war for Armageddon, and we have potential fertilizer issues as a result of the Strait of Hormuz closure.
That's crazy.
Now, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the Strait of Hormuz. We have tankers that are now turning off their transponders, and I think what's happening with this announcement today from Donald Trump that not only are they going to be covering the risk premium so that these insurance companies can make their rates more affordable for people, the government's essentially going to cover it. You, the taxpayer, are going to cover it. So you're not going to notice it in the price of oil because, as Rubio said today, they're going to also start releasing oil from the Strategic Oil Reserve when it's necessary. But in addition to that, now you're going to have military escorts throughout the Strait of Hormuz.
That's crazy.
In addition to that, even if a ship gets hit, it's the taxpayers who are going to have to foot the bill. So you're not really going to notice it in the short term in inflation, but of course, you're going to notice it in the long term because they're just going to add to the deficit, which is ultimately inflationary. It's just not that near-term inflation that comes with a rising price of oil. And because all of these tankers are now going to have their transponders off, because
40%.
In on these since we got that 8:15 batch. Kaufman here, Paxton leading there. See, I thought Cornyn a little stronger there. This is the kind of place I would have thought Paxton was ahead in.
Okay, so they're talking about
okay, so
Grayson County.
The next thing here.
So let's keep going.
the Iranians are relying on a lot of data coming from Russia, China, and China's now on the fence because, of course, they're put in this situation where they're enabling Iran to effectively target ships coming through the Strait of Hormuz, which is fueling this embargo. So I'm not sure if they're continuing to provide them that information. And then, of course, they're relying on maritime tracking apps, which show them the exact location of the ships. Not that the Iranians don't have their own loitering ISR capabilities, but of course they're going to be drastically limited in that region at this point in time. So we're going to see a lot of things go dark. Even if something does get hit, then we're probably not even going to know unless they're able to get a picture of it burning at sea. We might not even get those maritime notifications when an incident happens because, of course, this is going to cause the price of oil and gas to spike. Anyways, I kind of went off on a bit of tangent, but I just wanted to give you some perspective on that.
Because remember what the Muslim Brotherhood said, they're going to try and put all these people in power so that they can take over our country.
He is going to do lip service to this whole Iran war issue, but just remember that all of these guys, the Democrats, they kept their mouths shut throughout the military buildup to go to war with Iran. They all clapped in unison at the State of the Union only once, and that was when Donald Trump mentioned the nuclear program. And Senator Blumenthal, who is best friends with Lindsey Graham, co-authored the bill, House Resolution 559 in 2023-2024, which basically outlined how they're going to militarily intervene if they thought that Iran was becoming a nuclear threshold state. Okay, this is the reason why I made my prediction in January of 2024. I'll post a link to that video in the description below. 5 months before, good friend of the channel, Professor Zhang, made his prediction that war with Iran was inevitable under Trump. I said in January of 2024 that there's going to be a war with Iran. I said that it was going to start before the election. It didn't, but I also said that if it doesn't start then, it's definitely starting on Trump's watch. And this was the reason why, because they created this bill. Now, let's see what he has to say today.
I just want to say I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have. But I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration.
They're all on board for a war with Iran. Now they're going to kind of astroturf the issue, and they're going to all act as though they were against the war when it goes sour in the long run. They understand the power of the AIPAC lobby.
Basically how
nobody wants to be crossing those lines. So you're going to get a lot of performative fake outrage like this that are trying to hold the administration to account. Well, where has the protest been? We've only seen a handful of these politicians say things like no war with Iran, and often it's just this tokenism. It is not any sort of serious resistance. So indeed, they're going to put troops on the ground with Iran, and we're going to talk in a moment about what that exactly is going to look like. You're going to have to pardon my skeleton set that we have going on here. We're currently renovating this space, but I can kind of show you what I need to show you. Now, there was a massive, before we get into that, there was a massive shock and awe bombardment. I told you guys that the next 24 hours were going to be bad inside Iran. And we're not getting much footage out of Iran right now because, of course, the internet is down. So any footage that you are seeing in Iran is likely being uploaded by somebody with a satellite phone or Starlink or some alternate means, which means that they're doing so illegally as far as the Iranian law is concerned anyways, and very likely that they're a spy. Now, what you're witnessing behind me here is the shock and awe campaign that's currently taking place in Tehran, which is a massive city. I believe it's like 15 million in the metro area. And you'll notice that the individual is chuckling in the background while his city burns, while this ancient Persian city burns to the ground, all right? And these people are laughing in the background. Now, I don't care if you don't like the government. I might not like Mark Carney, You might not like Donald Trump. You might like Donald Trump. You might not like Joe Biden. If you've seen this happening in your country, you're telling me that you're going to be laughing in the manner in which these individuals are laughing? It starts to become quite obvious that these are clearly Mossad agents. Take a listen.
I think it was funny, like the other one that I had watched, where the guy was like saying something in another language, and then he said shit. It's the only English word he knew.
Unless the Persians are just sadomasochists.
Like, what the heck?
They're really getting a kick out of watching their city be destroyed. So I have a sneaking suspicion that this stuff is being uploaded. I'm getting some weird 9/11 vibes from this. Did I say that out loud? Okay. So, yeah, this is going to continue. And the problem is right now, a lot of the Iranian attacks are going to start to go dark too. You're going to see that same sort of martial restriction that we see in Ukraine, where they're cracking down on what they can show. You're going to see that in surrounding nations. So we're not even going to know what they're hitting. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE. All of those places are going to likely go dark soon. So we're not even going to be able to see what the Iranians are doing. We don't see what's going on at sea. That's for sure. I mean, there were rumors back during the Yemeni war that the Yemeni hit a U.S. warship. I don't know if I believe that or not, but it's possible that what we're seeing in Ukraine with all the conflicting numbers, 50,000 versus 1 million, we're entering into a whole new realm of that here. So I expect that this is going to continue. Now, the Iranian response is going to be severe. A lot of people are saying that the firing rate that the Iranians are doing right now has diminished significantly, and it has, and this is typical throughout the 12-day war. Their opening salvos were massive, in the hundreds of ballistic missiles. We're only a few days in, and that's already been reduced by a significant factor. I think what's happening is because the U.S. has such significant overmatch in terms of their ISR capabilities, every time Iranians roll out the IRGC rolls out these launchers, they could potentially be spotted. And so they have to be very careful in terms and be very calculated in terms of when they take their shot. So we also are starting to see, though, the U.S. Bring in different kinds of less than stealthy equipment, like the B-52 bombers apparently are in there now. And I'm wondering if the Iranians aren't trying to trap the U.S. into doing that by bringing in these planes, thinking that their air defense has been totally destroyed, and then they finally do turn their radars on. I mean, it's a possibility. I think for the most part, they're trying to ride this out
Now,
because
I'm wondering
they
what kind
indicated
of
that
like
they've been preparing for
weaponry
this
we're
war
going
for
to
a
bring
long
up,
time.
because we
Obviously,
did
they've
tell
been preparing
Iran,
for
like
40 years.
when they were trying to
They
threaten
said
us,
that they're
we're
ready
like,
for a 6-month war,
Trump's like, hold
and
my
they're
beer.
telling people right
And
now,
so
according to the
he was
IRGC
saying
advisor,
that we
Brigadier
have stuff
General
still in his arsenal
Sardar
that he hasn't brought
Javari,
out. So I'm
who said this in
wondering
an interview.
what
We are
could it
saying to the
possibly be.
enemy that if it decides to hit our main
What
centers,
would
we
be
will hit
dope
all
is
economic
if an
centers in
Iron
the
Man
region. This
came
is
out.
exactly
I'd
what
be
I
like,
told you
holy
yesterday.
crap.
This is what I warned
What was
about.
that one
Okay,
called?
boots on the ground, shock and awe is going
War
to
Machine.
elicit total war within the region. Total war.
And then they changed it to the
as Professor
Iron
Zhang
Patriot,
indicated in one of his
because,
recent videos,
apparently
the end
War
of the
Machine didn't
line
pull well.
of that is targeting the
That was my
critical
salute, just so
infrastructure
you know.
that civilians
I'm
need.
not a
And
military
the
person, so I
Achilles
don't know how
heel
to
in this
salute guys.
theater is desalination plants, of which a significant portion
But
of
yeah,
these populations
so
rely on. Now, of
that'd be
course,
cool.
that would very likely be a
I feel like that's something
violation
China
of
would
the
like
Geneva
bust out with,
Convention and a
be
blatant
honest.
war crime. But I mean, if this is existential for Iran, they'll probably go for it. There's a lot of other targets that they can hit long before that, and I believe it's going to be oil and gas infrastructure. So if the U.S. in this most recent attack were heavily targeting the Iranian oil and gas infrastructure and pipelines and ports, then we're likely going to see an equal reprisal, and they're going to reciprocate the gesture and likely target Saudi Aramco again and all of the
Now, what I
surrounding
would
regions'
be like
capabilities,
worried
as well
about,
as the
because like I
pipeline
said,
that
we
they
probably have
built. I
sleeper
believe they
cells
built
here
it.
in
I
America.
can't remember when they built it, but they built it
what
at
I'd
a
be worried
time
about is
when
like
these kind of drones didn't
like a
exist.
Red Dawn
So they didn't
situation.
really plan for
Like
this.
I know
So
a
that
lot of us
pipeline itself,
carry
just
and we'd
taking
probably
that
be okay,
offline,
but can you imagine?
could
It would
potentially
be like a bunch
that
of
was
chaos
their
going on.
contingency plan for if the Strait of Hormuz was ever closed. The Saudis built this pipeline from the north to the south so that they could go through the Red Sea, which of course could potentially be blocked by the Houthis, who are not really active yet in this conflict. But that's something to keep in mind. Now, the Brigadier General is saying that we've closed the Strait of Hormuz. Currently, the price of oil is above 80, and it will soon reach $200.
It's
Okay?
about to
And they're also
skyrocket.
saying, I believe they indicated that Europe, I can't remember the exact quote, but something like Europe is going to feel the pinch soon. The Iranian foreign minister said that soon this will engulf Europe, and referring to the price of
They're
oil
watching the Texas
and
one, man.
gas. And now Europe is pleading with the Ukrainians to allow that Russian oil to flow once again. Remember, the Russians and the Chinese aren't going to make any major moves until Trump commits, until he puts boots on the ground. Now, how he's going to put those boots on the ground is he's likely going to embed them within Kurdish forces
I can't
in
believe Crenshaws
Kurdistan,
losing, dude.
or what I suppose
Like he used to be
is
so
called
based,
Kurdistan.
and now
It's not
it's
really
like
a country;
man,
it's more of
he
a
became a rhino,
geographical
bro.
area of which
crazy.
people of Kurdish
But
ancestry
someone in
originate.
top
And
is
they're likely
winning
going to
by
come in through the north,
57%.
and there's going to be a variety of different groups: Turks, Syrians. Also
And it
on
looks like
the
only
other front,
57%
on the
of
I
the
guess it would
votes
be
are
the
in. So,
southeastern front,
I mean,
would be the Baluchistan
maybe a tough
front
look,
that
but
opens up. So this is
who
the new
knows?
World War III ground war front right here. I'm going to familiarize myself more with this region and just the history of this region, because it's going to become very important. Okay, so this is where we could see the same kind of warfare that we're seeing in Ukraine right now. This is the second front. We're going to have two fronts now for
Yeah,
World War
Trump-
III.
Trump,
Okay,
I
and then it's going to be a
think
third
he
when China opens up,
overestimated
because
this
once
one
Trump
because
commits, and they're going to put troops on the
he
ground.
thought it was
I
going to
don't
be
know if
like
they're going to be
Venezuela, where you're
frontline
in, you're out
necessarily.
like this.
They're already talking about
No,
empowering
Iran is a totally different
the
beast.
Kurds to fight, the ethnic Kurds to fight here. And of course, the Iranians have a massive, I mean, this is where the Iranians are going to excel, I think, because obviously they have the Russians who are allies, and just in any sort of ground war, it's a bit more of a equalized playing field compared to going up against the most capable air force in the world. And this is something that's important to understand. The Russians have never had to endure what the Iranians have had to endure in the last 3 days, okay? Because you never had F-22s, F-35s, B-2s. I mean, none of that has been tested, really tested against Russia's air defense systems yet. Yeah, there's the odd S-400, S-300. We don't even if they turned it on yet, to be honest. I think they haven't. Now, there is rumors that they shot down another F-15. We haven't had any confirmation from the U.S., but there was 3 that were shot down yesterday. They're saying that it was technical malfunction or friendly fire or whatever. But according to Tasnim News Agency, they're saying that another F-15 was shot down. I'm wondering if they're not going to turn
Hold on,
those.
we're going to pause that guy right now for now, because I wanted to like look at this. They're talking basically about, I guess, the
You have the millions and
situation.
millions of dollars getting poured in here. You've got this runoff. You've got competitive races in House and Senate races throughout the country as we head into the rest of
Goober.
primary season over the next few months.
I'm a goofy
The balance,
goober.
right? When you start to think about
That's right.
where
I
the
said,
resources
that guy
are,
wins,
where the
that's all
energy,
I'll
where
be
the
doing.
like the earned media attention is going too. I mean, all of this starts to play a factor.
That's exactly right. And there
Bueller.
will be, depending, so Trump
Bueller.
is the number one factor,
Bueller.
absolutely, on the Republican side. The second
The
factor,
next
if Trump either takes a
green.
pass or he's taking his time
So
to come
this
up
guy
with an
is
answer,
beating the crap
is
out
how
of the
much more
caveman.
money will that sort of status quo Republican
And they were showing Jasmine
establishment,
Crockett
et cetera,
in
put
Dallas,
into
and I think there's
a
like an
runoff
independent there,
campaign.
so it took like about
And
30% of the
I come up
votes.
next with,
So
if
even
it
though
does
she would
not
get
come to
some
that same
votes out
number
of
as
there,
we're seeing right
it
now,
looks like she
and
ain't gonna
the
win.
benefit of Cornyn, not as much money spent, say, in the runoff as we've seen in the primary.
What's going to happen post-May? If Paxton is the nominee and he is now going to be the one trying to raise that kind of money, where is that coming from, and where will donors be? There's obviously going to be a tremendous amount of pressure from national Republicans.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here. Sorry to pause you.
Yeah,
Senator
no
Cornyn
problem.
speaking now. We want to listen in live just briefly.
I want to start by thanking my family, without whose support and love I could not
Who's
do
this
what I
wanker?
get an opportunity to do, representing 32 million Texans in the United States Senate. I want to thank everybody who voted for me, and the way I view it,
Gonzalez
it's
is
an
beating out
indication of their
Herrera.
trust in the service that I
I don't
provided
know. I
to
think I
this
would have
great
voted for
state for
Herrera.
many years now.
Just about a dude with
To
good hair.
Congressman Wesley Hunt and his family, you ran a spirited race, and you have a bright future, and I wish you well.
Guess he's
We
bowing
now
out.
head into a 12-week primary runoff. Elections are about choices, and the choice in the Republican
Oh no! So he's
race
advanced
for
to
the
the
U.S.
runoff.
Senate is crystal
Then
clear.
it's Paxton.
I've worked for
and then
decades
Hunt.
to build the Republican Party, both here in Texas and nationally.
So both Paxton
I
and
refuse
Cornyn
to allow a
is
flawed,
running into a runoff.
self-centered, and shameless candidate like Ken
Unless he
Paxton
drops
risk
out,
everything we've
and
worked
then
so hard to
Paxton
build
would win
over
across
these
the board.
many years. There is simply too
Like
much at
Garcia
stake
is winning
in this
for House
midterm election for
29.
our state and for our country. The final 2 years of President Trump's agenda hangs in the balance.
Yep.
I'm proud
Pass
to have
the
supported
SAVE Act.
President Trump and worked with him to help him achieve his goals in the Congress. If he's nominated, there's a high risk that Paxton would lose this Senate seat, taking 5 congressional seats down with
That'd be
him.
awful. Awful.
And you don't have to take my
Texas.
word for it. In public polling in the last few months, U.S. Senate nominees are either tied with or beating Paxton if he were the nominee. Ken Paxton as the nominee would be a dead weight at the top of the ticket for
Crazy,
Republicans
'cause
running all
right now
across
in
this
the upper
great
left-hand
state.
corner, Iran
Over
strikes
the
Tel
next 12
Aviv.
weeks,
Live sirens,
Texas
ballistic
Republican
missiles, fire
primary
across Gaza
voters
and
will hear
Israel.
more about my record of delivering conservative victories in the United States Senate and learn more about Ken's indefensible personal behavior and failures in office. Just like the primary, we have a plan to win the runoff, and we are in the process of executing it. Judgment Day is coming for Ken Paxton. Thank you all. May God bless Texas, and may God continue to bless in the United States of America.
Take a few questions. Jim, you want to start with AP?
Questions? That's unusual.
Questions.
Was just listening on questions there.
From Corky Romano, in case you guys didn't know.
How do you motivate?
Well, fortunately, I've had the experience of winning a runoff previously when I was Attorney General. I won a contested runoff for the Republican nomination then. Obviously, we need to encourage as many people as possible who voted in the primary to come back on May the 26th. Fortunately, Texas has an early voting period, which will allow anybody and everybody who wants to vote an opportunity to cast their ballot early. If they don't do it, then they can do it on May the 26th. I think there'll probably be, at last count, maybe as many as 5 races on the ballot, which will make it much more likely we'll see a robust turnout of voters then. But as I said, and as I think we've demonstrated, there's simply just too much at stake for Texas voters to stay home. And I don't expect them to
Yep,
stay home.
that's what I've been saying. Everybody needs to go out there and vote like their lives depend on it, because it does. Because the Dems get empowered. That's it.
And you've been listening to Senator John Cornyn trying to energize his.
Yeah, he's trying to get the base moving.
Small, but in this district, this is probably 10% of the vote right here.
So let's see what's going on here for the strikes. Because all you see is like little flashes of lights and stuff like that. So crazy. And watching this, like it always reminds me of when 9/11 happened, only because like when I walked into the room and it was on the television, you could see what happened, like the plane crashing, stuff like that. And I just remember telling my aunt, like, "Oh, what movie you're watching? That looks interesting." And she's like, "Bro, this is not a movie. This is real life." I was like, you know, because I didn't realize that that was something that actually could happen. Because as an American, you have that arrogance thinking you're untouchable, and that day proved we are definitely not untouchable. So it's crazy to see all this happen, all this destruction in other places, and hopefully it doesn't come here to America, because that would be god awful. Let me see if I can find anything else that's going on over there, because it looks like there's just bombs going off, but I don't know if it's just replaying that. So I'll see if I can find anything else going up.
Again, on the Republican side,
Let me just look.
The picture hadn't really changed here, about 2.5 points. That's Cornyn's margin. The ball game now is just about who's going to finish first here, who's going to be able to say going into the runoff that they finished first, that they had the most votes. If you're Cornyn here, this would be the expectations were pretty low for Cornyn. So if he is able to finish on top of Paxton in this preliminary, I think he may go into that runoff with a bit of an unexpected head of steam. And then depending on, how do Republicans react to the Democratic result? Does that shape their thinking as they weigh that? May 26th, that's when the runoff would be, May 26th. Real short campaign. Democratic primary, let's call that one up and just see if we got any new. So that Talarico margin, again, it's hovering right where it was the last time we checked in, right around 70,000 votes. We still have yet to hear from Williamson County. That's a big piece of real estate. Williamson, Brazoria, that'll be, that's a fairly significant one when we get it.
We do have a couple election day comparisons in this race if you want to go through
let's do that.
So like Fort Bend County, we have about 10,000 election day votes, 10,000. Those are breaking 53-42 for Crockett.
Okay.
She was winning the early vote 60-36.
She won the early vote 60-36, and she's winning the same day 53-42.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's what. So that's interesting because she wins. That has the effect of bringing down that initial number that you saw, right? It was, when we first checked in here, she had 60% in this county. You could see 59.4. You would maybe round that down to 59. That's because while she is winning the same day vote here, she's only getting 53%. So obviously that's gonna bring the number down. So while it's good news for her to be winning the state. You want to win the same. She wants to win it by more. She wanted the number to go north here. It's actually going a little bit south, even though she is winning the county overall.
Hayes County would be another one. Okay, we have about 7,000 election day votes.
So it looks like Talarico is up at 51% and Crockett at 47%.
That's the election day. The early vote was 74-25.
I'm telling you guys.
Okay, so that's an interesting comparison. So you're taking two big counties here. Now, maybe Hayes County, you're in the Austin area. I don't know if it's a little unfair because this is sort of Talarico's backyard. But what Adam's telling you, right?
So 69% of the votes are in. And Neffy is at 48%. Green is at 43%.
Here, but this is a three-quarter.
So kind of like a toss-up, guys, with that one. For the key man.
It's where San Marcos is. All right, let's reset to the statewide here. Is there anything new? I'm paranoid about missing North Carolina 4 because it's not in front of me. Is there anything new North Carolina 4?
No, nothing new in North Carolina 4.
Okay. And we're.
Yeah, it's still 49 to 48. That one's like tight.
We can check in with the Texas 18 with that Fort Bend update.
Yeah. Do we have more?
Yes, we got another.
So this was the rest of Fort Bend?
That's right.
Oh, okay. I mean, so now it's okay. This makes clearer what we were just talking about. But we still have a little bit more here out of Fort Bend County.
Yeah.
Right. you could see, look, Green is doing very well in Fort Bend County. The bad news for him is it's a small part of the district. He is going to net some more votes out of here with what's to come, but he still trails 2,500. Again, we told you, like best case, he brings that down to 0. I don't think he even does that. And then he would have to win the same day in a county where he's
did you
getting
see that
blown
explosion,
out, in the
guys?
early
That
vote,
was
and we
crazy.
just showed you how.
Hold on. I love explosions. That was nuts. Look at that. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Like, look at that. Look at that. That's crazy. It's like, how do you know where it's gonna hit? Like, do they like send out warnings aside from the siren going off? Like, can you hear that from far? And is it just going off in one specific spot, or is it just like the whole city? That one was so crazy. It was just like, you know? I was just like, yo, that like caught my attention real quick. So it looks like she dropped back down because it's now at 51.8% and 46.9% rocketed. So interesting, guys. Like, that's some craziness going on over there.
Decision desk guidance on the implications of the.
I wanted to watch this other video with you guys. Yes, second.
Outside of that guidance that we got earlier about the provisional ballots, I think that's a big, we want to see how many total votes were cast in that interim period, and we're supposed to get an update on that before the end of the night. So we're waiting for them to continue reporting votes, but until we get an approximate number of those provisional ballots, that'll probably hold us up there.
Okay. So again,
that's some craziness. Just the explosion alone. But this is from Benny Johnson, Alex Jones, Armageddon warning. So let's go ahead and listen on this. I love this movie. This movie is great. Like when they had like a body and obviously the guy was murked and they're like medic and it's like, bro, you can't heal that. This is such a great cult classic.
Alex, welcome back.
Alex Jones. I love Alex Jones.
I wanted to talk with you about Epstein and Bill Clinton. But since this war with Iran seems to be popping off in just a moment, love to get your take on it. What does it mean for where the country is headed? Clearly, the American First Movement doesn't want more quagmires and more forever wars.
Well, if you remember 2 weeks ago, Trump started evacuating people out of different embassies over the Middle East, and it was looking like they were going to strike them. But now we know that was to get intelligence to see where the Iranians sent weapons. It was to pick up signals intelligence, probably. This time it looks like they are getting ready to hit because the negotiations have fallen through and Iran is refusing to give up what the West says is its nuclear program. But even people like the founder of Blackwater, who's really smart, Eric
Looks
Prince,
like Jasmine
is saying he's a fan of the
Crockett.
mullahs.
Okay, good. She dropped again.
But regime changes at
Bravo.
and this could really cause some major problems. But regardless, I'm no fan of the mullahs myself. And so I would like to see them remove that. It is a dictatorship over their people. They're very
Crenshaw is
popular.
still in the gutter.
Has shipped
39% and there's about 57.7%
that our experts believe will be able to get
of the votes
through
already cast
to the aircraft carriers. The question is, can
I'm telling you, he should have stayed
the Iranians
America
forward
first
deploy them enough
because he
to
would
get the
probably
general
like
arm
blew this
forward
guy out the
in the
water.
Mediterranean? But the other aircraft carrier is over by Iran and can
Like
be
they
hit.
really shouldn't
And
have
so
those
if
people
Iran
there.
does
Like,
hit the
please,
aircraft
please
carrier,
get
we'll go to full war with
like,
Iran, and that could potentially lead to World War III because
hopefully
it has
these
a
people are
defense
more like
deal with
Americanized
China,
and
North
not
Korea,
liberal.
and Russia. So that's really some of
Because
the major
like I said
dangers
before,
here.
guys,
But
you
as you
had the
said, the
Muslim
massing
Brotherhood
of forces
and
there is much bigger than
having
what we
these
saw
people want to
last
try and
year
take power
during
and then
the
kind of put us all
7-8
under
day
shooter lot would blow.
operations we saw between
And
Iran
your
and
girl,
Israel.
me, this one
So
right
this is a
here,
very, very dangerous moment in history.
she would rather,
And
you know,
from all of my sources,
die
it's
on
really
her
up to
feet than
Trump.
live on her
Up
knees.
until the last minute, he could decide to give the order or not give the order. If you remember, we were told 5 or 6 times that we were going to go into Venezuela and that tomorrow would be the day. And that kind of got them to where they were complacent. And then finally, when it did happen, we caught them with their pants down. And of course, the U.S. military, regardless of what you thought of that, did an excellent, really almost perfect job. And so that's what we're looking at right here. This is a big deal.
You know, I'm very sorry for the side quest question, Alex, but it's something that I've dreamed about asking you. What is a discombobulator?
Side quest.
I don't know the specific secret weapon system Trump's talking about. I know that they have a lot of exotic weapons. I could go through some of the theoretical stuff and what we know has been.
I mean, if
developed
they
over
said that time
decades.
travel was
The
real, I'm
information I
pretty
have
sure
about
we
those systems
have
is old,
all kinds of crazy
so
stuff.
you can imagine they're much more advanced.
Yeah, I wonder if it's
but
time
they-
travel like
they
the way it
have kind
is,
of a Glock
because you know
system,
how like
that's associated with manipulating the time-space field between dimensions. That going back to the first experiments with it. With the
so you know
Germans
how
and then
like
the US,
in Endgame they
everybody
talked about
around it
time
really
travel, right?
gets sick.
Where they're like, well,
It's like the Havana
it's
syndrome
not
with steroids.
like Back to the Future,
Then there are
hot
classic
tub time machine.
high-powered sonic weapons. That
What
can
other
also
one
be
was
very, very
there? Terminator,
nauseous.
stuff
But when
like
you hear
that.
the term
They were saying like
discombobulate,
it's not
that
where
means,
it's a
like,
straight line
almost
where
like
you,
the reality's
okay,
not there.
once you
So this
jump
is
into the
real sci-fi
past and you
weaponry,
change
but
something
we're
in the
told
past,
hydrogen bombs, the most
your
advanced
new
thing
stuff,
that was
which I would
around
think that Back to
in
the Future would
50s,
do that because
theoretically, in
it
the
did do
1890s,
that. That's why it
Max
had
Planck
two
created
different
theoretical
outcomes. But
equation for
then
atomic bombs
it doesn't make
and
sense
hydrogen
because
bombs.
then the last
And
one
so the
kind of blows holes
technologies
in
are
the
30 to
second
50
one.
years, depending
Either
on
way, it's
what
one of
group
those things that
advanced. And honestly, it's
you
very
go
secretive.
to
They had, in the early 70s, the
to the
B-2 bomb
future,
deployed.
right? Well,
They
he jumps in the
didn't
past,
declassify it partially
screws up
until
the
the late
past,
80s,
he comes
and
into the
that, we're
alternate
told, is
future
about
because this is an
5
alternate
generations
timeline.
back
And that's
from
what Endgame was
the
saying,
U.S.
that
military actually
your future self going into the past can't go back to the current
UFO files are kept secret
present.
because
It go into the new
the UFO
present.
technology is simply
So
military technology that's being tested
I wonder if that's
on
the
our
same for
people
this.
or domestically.
Yeah, I'm
and
probably
that the
overly
federal government
complicating
has
it
the
because, you know,
ability
your
to
girl's an
manipulate time and
overthinker.
space. And I say that, Alex, because
But yeah.
they straight up, and that's not what this interview is about, but I hope you don't mind this a little side quest here. That, like they said that in this astonishing document, Alex, could you grab it? The principal who's in charge of science and technology for the administration, Dr. Alex Krasios is his name, sounds like straight out central casting. He says, no, we have the ability to manipulate time and space with our military tech.
That's crazy. I'm telling you guys, that's crazy.
Modular changing reality.
Like,
we heard from the Venezuelan
is that why we have all these Mandelas?
We're
Because they've been like
incapable of even
screwing with us and kept
when
going
hit with
into
this
the past and changing something?
vomiting
Because,
blood, vomiting, blood out
bro,
of their
that's messed up.
mouths, blood out of their ears and nose. What I mean, did we use some space age shit on these guys?
That would also be crazy if it's not like Back to the Future stuff, but if it was alien tech.
There are particle beams.
That'd be even crazier.
You can just hit a building with and it just basically disintegrates. There are.
That's
and these are just things
crazy.
we know theoretically that they did develop, and then the rest is classified. So it just goes on and on. And
Classified, like Evie from
we've had free
from
energy for at
Wally.
least 30 years. It's seen as a disruptive technology, so it's been suppressed. And with Trump, you see the beginning of the rolling out of this, which is great to secure American dominance, but also great for the economy. With all this debt and the rest of it, new innovations being rolled out like this aren't going to be disruptive. It's what's going to save us if it can be deployed in a peaceful way. I mean, imagine what free energy will do. But you see Trump killing the carbon taxes, the Paris Accord that Lord Monckton's analysis, and I've seen other analysis.
See, the thing about like the carbon tax and like carbon itself, I think it's stupid because we're like a drop in the bucket compared to China. Like the carbon footprint of China is insane. So like no matter what we do, it's not going to change anything because it's like dropping a raindrop in the ocean, just one drop. It ain't going to do anything, you know?
And so this is a great
not unless China gets its ish together.
In fact, that's why I'm not black-pilled. I mean, I wish they do more on Epstein. I wish they do more on arrest.
Let's see if anything updated with Shaw.
At the end of the day, the globalists are being made.
I'm just so interested in that one because I think it's funny.
In the email saying, yes, we're setting up an alternate world government.
Those same numbers.
Epstein was on, and we're going to transfer the UN power.
Oh my God, that also reminds me of the other movie, Meet the Robinsons. The bad guy, the bowler hat guy. His name was Goober.
For global governance.
I think that's what his name was.
That whole system is being exposed. It's being discredited. The crown jewel
But
of it.
on the reals, I just keep going back to
The social
SpongeBob.
credit score that would implement that and track everything we do, that is gone basically. The UN's plan to quote cut half the food production. Remember a couple of years ago, John Kerry, we got to get rid of half the farms or people will starve.
That's crazy. That's like stupid because you need the farms because they grow the food. Like, how else are you gonna get it? I get it. They want to make modified food, or they're trying to do that whole thing like Star Trek, where you just like boop 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 and you punch it in, and all of a sudden the food appears. You know, but it's like no thanks. I don't want digital food. I want real food.
My wife's grandmother is visiting us. She's 95 years old, and I have a Tesla, and I love it, and it's a self-driving Tesla. And she sat in it and she's like, "This is the Jetsons." That's what she said.
Yeah.
And we like self-drove, you know, and we went down the street.
Y'all grew up with that cartoon.
And
Drop
car
a
drive
thumbs
itself.
up
She's
in the,
like, I
in
can't
the
believe it. I
comment
can't believe
below.
I'm living to see this. It's the Jetsons. That's what she said.
Yep.
And
Yep.
all of those technologies aren't evil in and of themselves. It's how they're deployed.
Yeah.
And Musk is saying, have more children.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like technology is not well.
Autonomous
Okay,
systems to go out and build our
hear me out.
spaces and
Technology is not bad. You know, it's the people that control it. But then again, if you have AI, which is funny that you're talking about it, but if you have AI and it becomes self-aware and then now sentient, it can choose to be good or bad based off of what it decided to do with the information it was given. I don't know. That one is just like got my head going. You know,
it really depends on what spirit is in the machine, one of God and the Holy.
Yeah, so this is some craziness. It looks like it's going to be coming like it's still going through the night. They're probably not going to have results. And as you saw, because of the runoff, it's going to be pushed out a couple months, or like I think they said May. So we're not going to know some of these results right away overnight, which sucks because we should be able to do it. We should be able to know the results like right away. So with that being said, guys, I am going to let you go. I hope you have a great and safe night. Don't forget, stock up, you know, have your GATs ready, watch your 6, because sometimes it rains, guys. You guys have a good one.
Time's up, my little heathens. Harley's gotta cause more trouble. Thanks for the chaos.